What do you got?
We're trying to change something.
Skateboarding is a way of learning how to redefine the world around you.
There's no fire, there's fire. The owners of this country don't care about the poor and your owners.
Now, baby, push me. Push me again now.
Screaming out a wall.
Check 1 2, check 1 2.
Check 1 2, check 1 2.
Check. Holy shit, this took way too long to set up. My bad. Actually, I need to turn that down.
Yeah, but we're on though, right? It's time.
We are.
The time has come. My friends are talking many things of shoes and chips and sealing wax and cabbages and kings. And if the sea is boiling hot and whether pigs have wings, is that the deal?
That I was going to say those exact words.
So.
Shane, how the fuck did you know? Welcome back, you miscreants, you misfits, you outcasts of society. Part 2.
Yeah.
Finally done. Finally got him back. So the thing is, a lot of people have been going on like an ayahuasca trip to, a different state, doing some spiritual, awakening.
That's where I was.
Is that what you've been doing the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, I decided to get COVID and go on a spiritual journey. Yeah, it was real fun.
How's that been for you?
It was rough, man. It was really rough. But, I was an intravenous addict for many years, and I smoked non-filtered cigarettes for 40 years. And, if anything was going to get me real bad, it was that, So it was rough, but I'm getting better every day. I'm still a little shaky, but I'm better.
Were you pretty freaked out when you first got it?
Nah, I knew it wasn't going to kill me. I know that sounds arrogant. I don't mean it to sound arrogant because I know it's, but nah, I knew it wasn't gonna. It's going to take more than that. I mean, I get sick every year. I get pneumonia because when I was 18 years old in punk rock, I shot dope so much I got a fungus on my heart. It's called bacterial endocarditis. And they put me in the hospital for 90 days with a tube through my heart, like into your chest for the antibiotics. It went away. I fucking got out, did it again. They took me back to, it was at downtown hospital. Mm-hmm. Fucking nurse was this gay guy. He walks in, looks at me, walks out, comes back, and he throws a body bag, boom, on my chest. And he tells me, Shane, next time you shoot up, just climb in this mother. You know what that is? I go, yeah, it's a body bag. He goes, no, we call them shrouds. He's like, next time, climb in that. Take that home. And I did. I had it for years. I had a body bag.
It like as a blanket?
Yeah. So what I get at is that, I just knew it wasn't going to do me in. No disrespect to everybody and their COVID paranoia, but.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on right now. It's been a hard topic to bring up to people. I've had people that have hit me up on Instagram, certain posts that I do. And then I had a really close friend that I've known for, like 15 plus years, like early, like punk rock days working at Destroy All. And he called me up. He's like, I'm concerned like where your viewpoints are or where you're getting your information. And because there's people that are really taking a political stance on it, right?
They politicized it.
And definitely have politicized it.
And that's a problem.
Yeah. So I kind of bring that up because, my relationship with him, even though it runs pretty deep, he was at a point where he was like, man, I was like, do I unfollow him? Do I not want to see what's just for that one view? And we were actually able to have an hour long discussion.
You got through it?
We got through it. And ultimately, we both came to the same conclusion. We don't know what to fucking believe.
That's what I say.
And I think a lot of people need to ask themselves is, what is the end goal that I guess both sides, and that could be anything for that matter.
Right.
What are the end goals to what we're trying to get to? And that's really to find some sense of comfort, some sense of peace again. And this really goes back to the first episode, part 1, where you went through your experience where at a certain point, right, you're in the hole and you're getting all this new information, and then you're starting to learn shit about yourself where you've lived your entire life with this veil, right?
Yeah.
You've been covered up. One day it gets pulled up, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I got to reevaluate
By my
my
enemy.
life.
By my enemy.
You're right.
Yeah.
Psychologically, that throws you through a loop because you start to question your identity. You start to
Yes.
question
Yes.
everything, right? Who
Yes.
you are as a human being. And I bring this up because I think a lot of people that have been locked up, right, had to go through this process. And what I feel what is going on right now is that is happening with society because we're getting new information about our government, about corporations,
Yes.
certain things that were sort of this illusion before are being pulled up.
Yeah.
And we don't want to believe it. We want to go back to this idea of what normal is.
That's what you hear a lot. We just want to get back to. It's never going to be, my opinion.
Yeah, because I brought that up too because you've gone through the experience of documenting your experience of going through COVID and then
Everything, yeah.
and then trying to get information out there, and that's another thing too. It's really hard to navigate through.
I've lost friends and followers because I have a certain opinion about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you.
Come closer.
Yeah, come closer. You can move the mic. Yeah, the closer.
Is that
the
better?
Yeah, that's better.
But yeah, I've lost. Yeah, I mean, people get really mad about it, and I keep saying the part I don't understand is I'm not judging anybody. If whatever your solution is for your personal thing, do it, man. That's not the way I feel about it. Look. Most people that are locked up that really did time, we don't trust the government. They lie. They lock people up illegally. It's all about numbers. Prosecutors, they don't give a fuck about you or me or what the circumstances were. That's been going on since John Dillinger. His first crime was he stole bread for his family, and he did 9 years and 8 months for that. Fucking bread. He did hit the dude over the head. But the point being, really? You're going to give that guy a decade so he goes in there and he learns from all these dudes and he turns into a gangster, and then he's the biggest gangster in the world. So I just have a very distrust of the government. And if they're saying one thing, I'm like, question it, man.
Well, also, too, having the perspective of being in a place where everything that you thought was important was taken away. But it gets stripped down, and you start to look at society as an observer when you're in there. You're watching this game being played because you don't have a role in that game anymore. You're just in there with your thoughts, and you see it in such a different way.
I think it's really good. People get mad at me when they're really attacking me. I'm like, man, have you ever done time? And they're like, no. And I don't wish that on anyone. But I think sometimes, man, wish you did. Not wish, but you should go do some. Because when you go in there and they take everything from you and all you have is you and your word. I mean, even your boxer shorts aren't yours, So, hey, take it, motherfucker. I don't care. You begin to realize that's where you get into the Buddhist. Like I'm with the Buddhists. To live is to suffer. And that's where you get into all the shit that I have. Mm-hmm. It's just an illusion. Because in the end of the day, I'm going to die and go out with none of it. And someone else is going to come, pack it up, whether it's the kids, grandkids, whoever, strangers. So what's really important, I think sometimes people haven't been, I don't mean this, but they haven't been through enough. They haven't suffered enough to realize it doesn't fucking, and I'm not saying you have to do that to have self-enlightenment, but that was the way to my self-enlightenment. Was suffering.
I would have to agree that most of the people that have gotten to that point of, not saying that I'm completely enlightened, but
you're awake, I feel.
I'm aware of.
I mean, we hit it off.
Yeah,
because I think
there's an awareness, and you want to spread that, and you want to share that, and that's again, a lot of people are having a hard time with accepting any new information. I mean, this is, a lot. I don't want to, I guess, spend a whole lot of time with this.
Yeah.
Because
no, we want to get back to the.
No, I do, but I really do think it's important for people just in general to really think about what our end goal is, because the end goal is not to return to this idea of normal. Because,
no, but peace.
Well, peace,
man.
But that's also to accept that there's been a veil over our eyes for so long, and we're just accept what we are seeing in front of us right now, because there's a lot going on.
That's right.
But the end goal is, I think, peace.
Well, I think, just like in the joint, they want us divided. Those goddamn unmasked motherfuckers, man. How dare you not wear a fucking mask in here, you prick. Those masked motherfuckers are cowards, man. They're, you know, like they want that. Rather than, hey, man, whatever you got to go through, God bless you. You dig? Because, I mean, there's more fighting now than ever over that and more judgment. I cut you off, right?
No, and the fact that information just came out with Francis Haugen, who worked for Facebook from 2019 up into the present. I'll put a link in the description because I think that's really important too, to pay attention to
10,000 documents, right? That they were causing hate.
Yeah, and they would change their algorithms based on what outcome they really wanted to, and
That's
they
right.
knew that they were actually creating this harmful effect by allowing certain people, like they would feed basically if you were a Trump supporter or if you were anti-Trump, they would really push that and feed that, and
it's caused a great divide in this country.
A great divide,
and they knew it too.
I guess it really, dude. I get chills thinking about this because this is It's serious and it's not so serious. All this, as I said before, it's like this shit is serious, but it's not so serious. But I think awareness is very key.
Dude, this is the only time since I was a kid that someone's called me a liar. I mean, I take that shit. You in prison, all you have is your word. My word is fucking very important to me, man, to come through. I mean, it means everything to me because I haven't. And it's the first time someone's come out and said in a fancy way, I'm a liar. And and they think I'm just asking questions, but they're like, no, you don't want answers. Nah. And I'm like, whoa, man. Dude, yes, I do. Yes, I do want answers.
Right,
I want the real ones.
There's too many different answers out there, I think. And
they want it that way.
Yeah, but
they muddy the water.
Not really wanting to accept either or because
it doesn't fit into their idea of what's right.
Yeah, I mean, really, like I said, like going back to this idea of where people felt comfortable before. But there's people like you and I think a lot of punk rockers, people that have been in prison, people that are Buddhist, all these people that had already seen this before
in different
ways. Yeah. But now everybody has the opportunity to see what a lot of those people have seen, and they're not willing to accept it because it challenges your identity. Your identity is rooted in these politics and the way that you subscribe to certain things. And when you challenge that within people, you don't want to accept it.
Well, and again, but you know, I asked this question and I don't think anyone really knows the answer. I mean, you kind of know it in your heart. Why the fuck would they have a Trump rally on January 6th in the fucking courtyard of the goddamn Capitol the day they're going to fucking validate the election? I mean, what are you, fucking crazy? Like, I mean, to me, it's a perfect setup. And I'm like, I wonder if they ate dinner together after. Hey, that was pretty good. We got the people really fucked up now. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying that I just thought it was very bizarre that very day.
But going back to...
Anyway. I know.
Just going back to what the whistleblower for Facebook was saying was, it's not even necessarily for these... And it could be, I don't know, nefarious reasons, right? It's really about, creating this person that is constantly going back to the apps, constantly going into this.
Yeah, it's an addiction because when it claps, okay, go ahead.
No, that's essentially it. Like where they're just feeding people whatever they don't care whether it's harmful or not. There's no ethics,
of course not,
involved. And I think again, a lot of punk rockers, a lot of people that have been to prison, we know that corporations, government, it's not really the choices that are made are not necessarily about
in the best interest,
the best interest of people, and for ethical reasons. That goes. Shareholders do not want to hear that shit.
No,
you know what I mean. And politicians don't want to hear about that. Doesn't really do anything.
No,
for
they
them.
don't give a fuck. Power and money.
So to bring this kind of back to when you had your epiphany about your own self and everything that Shane had been through up into the point of like getting locked up. How How much of your identity now is rooted in your experience of prison? And I know that over time it's probably changed as far as
Yeah, but it's
how
a lot. It's a lot. It's because if you think about it, I started going when I was 12, and high level prisons, when I was young, and I don't think that you can ever. I don't think an experience like that. It's like war, or I don't think it ever goes away. It does evolve. It does evolve.
Right.
But my life will always be rooted in that experience, because that experience is who I am today. And, I've literally had people that were mad at me say to other people, why doesn't he just get over it? That was fucking 30 years ago. And it's like, yeah.
as far as like,
Well, I was a white boy in there.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
But
And that changed with Michael. That
Yeah.
changed.
right.
But
Because-
it wasn't
it was the same
experience.
experience. It was the same experience for my brother, who, like I said, I've mentioned it before. I grew up in an interracial family. My brother, he had black family, and he went to YA, and that completely changed. All of a sudden, he had a swastika tattooed on him, and you're like, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
You don't understand." I mean, he was 13 when he hit Fred C. Nellis.
Yeah. Fred C. Nellis, School for Boys. Yeah.
He spent 4 years there.
Yeah.
And then he talks about it to this day of how much it just fucked with his head.
Yeah.
So much so that someone that grew up in an interracial family somehow was putting swastikas on themselves.
Yeah.
But he was one of the only few white boys there, and that's what you did. You mentioned it in part one. It's the lowest common denominator.
Skin color.
It's skin color,
And
in
it's
there.
literally visual.
Yeah.
It's not the blood that you have in you, because if you, let's say you have black blood in you and
Right.
you look white,
It
like
doesn't,
straight white, then you're a white boy.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't.
I mean, you can identify as that, because we were talking about the riots, and I was
Can you speak a little?
I was in the joint when the Rodney King riots kicked off, and they kicked off in there, and it's in this. This is a play. I brought it.
Oh,
This is
sweet.
what I wrote. I wrote it about a year out of the experience of Michael and me, and the experience leading up to it. It's a movie, a play, whatever the fuck it is, but it's in this part's in there. There was a kid that was hanging out with the blacks, a white kid playing basketball, got his hat to the side. Now you got to understand, rap music wasn't even out yet. There was a couple from New York, like, don't push me 'cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to
lose my head.
It's like on the undercover,
Yeah.
that. But there wasn't this big movement yet.
Right.
So because that changed, because then white kids started listening to black music, and there's this whole thing okay, well, not this was going on. Maybe Rodney King, there was a little bit.
Oh,
But-
there was that was like post gangster rap of like Compton.
Right,
That was, like,
okay,
early 90s.
okay. So I'm wrong about that, but it just seemed like in the joint there weren't a lot of white guys running with black guys yet at that point. But
Even for Hispanic gangs, it was frowned upon to listen to rap music. And then it's funny, I actually remember Chris Blansford, who used to do Fox Undercover. He would document like the gangs and stuff that were going on in LA. And I remember my brother saw an episode where it was some dude from Echo Park, and he was dressed up all hip hop. And it was actually the first time I ever saw, like, you would see white t-shirt, khakis, whatever. And my brother was like, dude, that dude would get like beat up in jail for acting like that. And then, but that completely changed at that point, like moving forward.
But the kid, when the riot kicked off, he ran to the black kids he was hanging out with. And I'm not kidding. They physically ripped him apart, like they ate him up, because
So I was just thinking, like visually, like literally, like his arms being torn off.
Yeah,
and then, like,
they ripped him up. They ripped him
Yeah.
up. I don't know what they had or what, but they ripped him up.
It was like
it was like for real. They ripped him up. I mean, he was
wow.
gone. But it's funny, because what happens in prison riots is the front of the riot is the front, and then one guy's fighting, and then another guy takes the front line, and then they get it's like this weird swirling, but the contact is right at the, I don't know if you know that, but the way it goes, it's very strange the way a riot happens and the races fight each other. I mean, at first it's everyone for himself, but then the lines form kind of. And at least, and then you fight and then you're getting tired. So then you fall back and another guy goes forward and it's this big mess. But he ran over there and literally, because I don't know, they went off in there over that Rodney King shit. And me and my cellie tied our cell door so that only one person could slide through, because I was in a prison that was 70% black. I don't know, a lot. You dig? And we were targeted because we were those guys. You know what I mean? So
they get a notch on their belt.
Trophies, they call it trophies. It's a trophy.
Yeah.
If they but anyway, I don't know if I don't know, but yeah, a close common denominator. Yeah, and I think we're seeing more of that now. I think, well, but I was gonna say that when I went to prison, it was a very small population. They hadn't had the explosion yet. Everybody, seriously, there were only 5 United States penitentiaries in the feds. There was only 2 big, high-level prisons in the state, and that was Quentin and Foley. They hadn't built Pelican Bay yet. They had Soledad had X-wing but it was really just the 2. The time I spent in San Quentin was still a high-level prison. It isn't anymore. Now I think it's a holding center, or maybe even a reception
center. Yeah.
But when I was there, it still had East Block, and West Block was the honor block, and North Block, and I was in East Block, and that was considered deadly.
So where we left off in part 1 with you was you had just gotten busted, and we didn't really get to...
Did I talk about signing the photos and Casey leaving and leaving the kids on a doorstep and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't remember.
Yeah. So bring us to the year, and then that process for you going from, I guess, the juvenile system into
the adult system. Well, at some point, my real experience in both, what I would say, because there was punk rock in there, but the bank robbery run, when I got busted for it, that was the beginning, because I got 9 years for the state and about 10 for the feds in the north and 7 for the feds
How did that work as far as state versus federal?
Well, that's funny that you say that, because when I first got caught, they only indicted me on the 7 banks in San Francisco. I got caught in San Francisco, and they prosecuted me, and so I made a deal with Frisco for the dime. But they tried to do, I think, there's a Rule 20 and a Rule 30 that they put it all together, all the cases. And the prosecutors in LA wouldn't put the cases together. They said, no, we want a piece of his ass. So I came down here, and the judge up there said that, see, there's a Rule 30 or 40 and a Rule 20, and now I'm drawing a blank on it. The Rule 20 is a modification of sentence, I believe. And the Rule 40 or the Rule 30 is that they'll put all your cases in one thing, so that way you don't have to go to court here.
Gotcha.
You dig? So when they wouldn't do that, the judge said, I think it's a real shame they won't do it. He said, so I will consider a sentence modification if they fuck you down there, is basically what he said. Eugene Lynch. Because I go to L.A., and then I get indicted, and then the state picks up other banks. I mean, the feds picked up 14 altogether out of 29. And I signed a thing saying the feds wouldn't prosecute me anymore. But I wasn't smart enough to sign a thing that no one would prosecute. And I don't even think the feds could do that deal. And the next thing you know, I'm indicted by the state for bank robberies too. And so that's how I went to Quentin, is that my state case, I got my Fed sentences, went to jail, started fighting the state cases, and then caught the chain to Quentin. And I did about a year in Quentin, and then they moved me back to the feds.
So how much time were you doing in the feds before you
17
17 months?
years.
Oh, 17 years.
That's what I got. Yeah.
That's what you got. So, but you did the fed. You were doing. You were doing
how much Fed time did I do before the state picked
before.
up
Before
a year fighting the cases?
Were you like freaking out? Would you? I mean, did you think
I knew
you were going to?
I knew I was in trouble. By that time, I'd kicked. See, when they busted me, I might have told you this, that I was literally like, hurry up, can we finish this? I got to go rob a bank because I'm getting dope sick.
Yeah.
Not realizing I was going to be swallowed for the next decade. And then they put me in the 6th floor of the San Francisco 850 Bryant Street. And I was my first experience, not my first experience with jail, but my first experience with understanding that I had been a one-man crime wave. I mean, 29 banks is no fucking joke. I mean, to me, because I did them, it's the same as shoplifting. To them, it carries 400 years, or, they could bury your ass. A judge said that to me. He said, literally, I don't know why you're asking for leniency. I have the power right now to put you away for the rest of your life, dipshit. You know what I mean? Like, but
what kind of leniency were you? What did you tell the judge?
I wanted concurrent time. I had already got a 10. I was 22. And I was going to do 7 on it. 6-8 is before you can parole in the feds. So I'm like, man, just give me concurrent time. And he goes, concurrent time? You're a wolf that preys on the innocence of, I'm concurrent. I could give you right now 400 years. You realize, that whole thing.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I'm going to get the transcript because that Judge Ray, did I tell you this last time? He fucking said that my pre-sentence interview was the worst he'd ever seen. My childhood. He's like, I've read some bad ones because the feds, they went all around and gathered as much. They call it pre-sentence interview. The marshals and the feds do it.
Is that something that only the feds do? They don't really do that for state.
No,
right?
I don't think as much. I don't think as intense.
Gotcha. Okay.
You dig? Because with the feds, my father told me this before he died. He went there. The feds, FBI went there and said, hey, what the fuck's up with your son? And my father, I was mad at him because he said, I don't know. He ran away when he was 12 and that's all I know. But that's what my mom had told him rather than tell him that I gave him $5 and put him on a freeway on-ramp kind of thing. You dig? Yeah. So he didn't know. We didn't compare notes till I was in my 30s. But they said, well, a guy like that, forget about him. He'll never change. The feds said that, and that makes me mad because, hey, asshole, it's not your fucking place to tell my father, because my father's like, what about my son? And he's like, God, just forget about him. Guys like that don't change. He's a fucking career criminal. That's it. And I was like, I'd like to see that fed now, because I've been out of trouble 35 years. Don't cause problems. Well, I wouldn't jaywalk. You couldn't get me to fucking do nothing illegal except defend my family and my, not getting into tough guy shit. But they did this pre-sentence, and the Judge Ray, not in San Francisco, but Judge Ray in L.A. said that I read your pre-sentence investigation, and it's about as bad as anyone's I've ever read. And that motherfucker sentenced, Colombians, fucking bank robbers, fucking, and I was thinking, man, I want to get the transcripts from that. You dig? I have my pre-sentence interview in the next room.
Was he referring to what you went through with the guy?
I
or
think
just
everything.
In general,
I think everything. Just being on the
through?
streets since I was 12 and no education and group homes and there was shit. I didn't go into too much of this, but I'd go to school with bruises and this. I had like. It's just I had.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah. So I think that's when I said, can you please give me concurrent time? And he said, concurrent time. Same guy. Ray, R-E-A. I think it was about 80. He's got to be dead. And he was like, concurrent time. Do you realize I have the power right now to give you 400 years? And I just sat there and I know Buzz, my friend Buzz was in the audience, and I looked over at him and he was doing this. Like, oh shit, here it comes.
Damn.
So it was 17, but I got 10 of it suspended later I filed
All right. So you get that federal time.
And then one day.
Well, walk me through when you first like.
I'm in Terminal Island.
Bus ride to the prison. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially, what year was this?
86, 87.
86,
right in
87. So this is when prisons were.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that they're not.
No,
shit now,
I got to Quentin. I want to say in 88, in the beginning of 88.
Okay, but,
Maybe the end of 87. Like what?
but you went straight to the feds first, and then you went to state.
What happened was, okay, so I do all this Fed thing. I'm in Terminal Island, and then one morning they just come and they're like, Shane. And I'm thinking, what now? And they're like, court line. And it wasn't court line, it was the state. The marshals dropped me off, and then I didn't even know what the fuck was going on. I thought it was over. Court was over, man. I'm done. I'm doing this time. And then it was the state. And then they gave me, it was kind of weird back then. I have to look at my paperwork, but it carried like 7, 8, 9 or 8, 9, 10, or, it was a weird trip. But they gave me 9. And then I caught the chain to the state. And then I thought, fuck, are they going to make me do my state time? And then when that paroled, I'll parole to the feds, because the feds ate the state. You dig?
Right.
The state did give me concurrent time, but I think what happened was they just put me through the system until, I guess, the marshals, because I went to, I got designated to Quentin. They sent me to Quentin. I'm in the East Block. And the same thing. One day they woke me up in the morning and they were like, roll it up, and then I was back in the feds. And
how much time were you at Quentin for?
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
So
let's talk about the experience
of what, Quentin?
Well, yeah. How did they differ? Like going from
Feds to state?
Federal to state.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the feds, you get state prisoners that are doing ex-con with a gun and stuff. And they always talk, the state, goddamn state. You know what I mean? And you think, it's the same shit, man. Okay, everyone's like, well, the feds is just lenient and good and no problem and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But it's not true. It's not that it's bad. The state, see, I think I think the difference is federal crimes are a little higher level. You don't get as many, in Quentin, they call them scrap. You have scrap on the yard.
Scrap yards.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that would be like your rapists, your fucking purse snatchers, your shithead that punched his wife and went to, all those fuckers. And then there's more of an elite robber, crowd. You dig? Where the feds, except for Washington, D.C. and some Indians, reservations, you don't get those kind of crimes in there. You got fucking big kingpins, mafiosos, bank robbers, career criminals, RICO cases, Colombians. So the level's a little different. It's a little more of a sophisticated.
It's like a Planet Fitness versus a Gold's Gym membership.
Right. But I am very grateful I went to Quentin. I learned a lot in there. I mean, a lot. And
did you have any idea the reputation of Quentin?
Yeah.
Prior to
Fuck yeah. Oh yeah, because I'd been in trouble in juvenile halls and all that shit all along.
You would hear about Quentin all the time.
But I think what happens in Quentin and Lewisburg, feds, but we'll go with Quentin first. I think what happens in there is San Quentin. So when a dude stabs a dude, he tries to stab him through his fucking head because it's San Quentin and it's got to be the worst. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. There was a hit when I got there. Right when I got there, there was a hit in the lower. There's lower and upper yard there. Lower yard has the weight pile with it's an outdoor one, but it's kind of indoor. You dig? And there's a breezeway, and then dudes get hit there. They get hit in a lot of places, but that guy got hit there, got killed there.
What was your mindset when you first got off the bus going in?
Well, I'd already had time in the feds, so
Yeah.
I knew I'd be okay. My hair was cut. I was already growing a mustache. I was already on my way. I'd already met old man Jimmy, who was kind of training me. So I was good. I was good. I think if I had gone there straight, well, the county jails sucks. You know that.
LA County is the worst.
Yeah,
It was 10 times worse than state.
Yeah,
Any juvenile.
they want you to cop, so you'll go to prison. You'll be like, I'll cop to anything, just get me the fuck out of this jail. You know what I mean? Well, my was Alameda up north because, you know, they picked up
Frisco.
some of the up north banks, the state did. I think the deal is, you know, they're all federally insured, but I know lots of dudes that did Fed time for bank robberies. State time. It just depends. The state picks up. That's literally what the detectives told me, because state robbery caught me. Feds didn't catch me. They gave me to the FBI, but the state robbery, Thomas Vigo, state robbery, he caught me, task force. And I said, so what's up? Am I busted for the states or the feds? And he goes, well, we're going to give you to the feds. And I think because they busted me, maybe that's what brought the DA to go ahead and indict me, because the feds, I did sign a thing saying all bank robberies passed, they wouldn't convict me for, but I didn't sign a thing for the state. So I think everybody, and I truly believe this, it was all about a conviction, all a number for a prosecutor. Oh, he's convicted. You dig? I don't think they really wanted to give me more time, or didn't think I had enough time, or I don't think they gave a fuck.
Yeah.
I think it's.
I'm really interested in knowing for you going from a heroin addict, right? Like that was really what fueled you to go out to do the bank robberies.
Yeah.
And you were a part of like the punk rock scene,
Right?
Because it's such a crazy contrast between the two.
When I got to jail, okay, now back then there weren't punk rockers in prison. Like, you guys can think whatever you want. Now there's a ton of them because the music's so big now. But at that time, punk rock wasn't that big. You dig? So I met one cellie I had was into punk rock. There were a couple guys, but other than that, there was nobody. So when I first got there, I had dyed black hair.
Yeah.
And I cut it off, right? You know what I mean? But I know dudes were tripping. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But not enough. Anyway, luckily, there were all these newspaper articles about me, and it was on the news and shit. And that kind of, believe it or not, that helps in there, because people are like, oh, that's that fucking crazy fucker that robbed all this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if you aren't. And then the other thing is one thing a lot of convicts had in common, at least back then, because like I said, it was a lot of them were dope fiends. And I'm a dope fiend, and we can relate to each other. Now, the funniest thing about those fuckers are they act like they aren't, but they are. And then like some dope fiend got, and then if you hit some dope, they're like, hey, give me some of that. You know, I mean, it's like, wait, man, I thought, you know, nah, they're dope fiends. You know, it's just funny. But I went through changes in there. I had to fight. And in the feds in the beginning in Terminal Island, there was a creep in there that was really trying to fucking, okay. Used to hit dope in there, and fucking everyone tries to take it from you. Fucking, I mean, it's a scene.
Do you say that you hit dope?
I get it from the visits.
You would get it. Okay.
Yeah, I would get it from the visits.
And that was like right off the bat.
And I kicked, got a visit, got some dope. And then as I got better, I went away, came back to the feds, and then started hitting, and then started dealing in there. I dealt in there. Oh, big time. I had 14 grams of China White. Most heroin I ever had in my life was in prison. Did I tell you that before?
I think we talked about
Michelle
it on the
Bell
side.
Gerber was the runner. She ran for me. And the thing about dealing dope in prison, okay, first, it's illegal. You can't talk about it on the phone. You got to be really careful. Second, everyone's going to try to get it from you. The whites are going to try to get it from you. The Mexicans, the black. I mean, everybody's trying to get it from you. Third, if you sell it and someone doesn't pay, no one will pay. I mean, it is a fucking drag, dude. It is a big. I was so glad when they shipped me to the East Coast and I couldn't get visits anymore, because it was over. Then it's over.
Sounds like a 24-hour stress job.
It is
right
a
there.
nightmare. And then the white dudes are like, we're taking some. And I told them, fuck you. You can kill me right fucking now, because you ain't taking shit from me. It's too hard to get. And then finally, the white dudes got me busted. The FBI got involved. Bad. Michelle Bell, you know, she's a punk rock chick. She was in Sex Sick. She sang in Twisted Roots. Darby's best friend. Me and her had this on again, off again relationship.
Oh, okay, we did talk about her a little bit.
Yeah.
She was the gal that a lot of people blamed for.
No, that's Casey. That's the mother of my kids. It's all the same crowd.
Oh shit. Okay.
Okay, Michelle Bell's a lot in those books and stuff. Gerber, they used to call her Gerber's Gab. She wrote for Flipside, and
she was in that book that I sent you a picture of, Gerber, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
She's the one that brought heroin into me. Her and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was Frank. Don't put his last name.
Okay.
And Frankie and me grew up together. And then she always dug me, so she started visiting me. She didn't tell Frankie she was visiting me, but they're dealing. And the first time she comes to visit me, she spits balloons in my mouth, and it's on. I mean, I didn't even have to ask her. She brought me street bags, and then it started. And then I felt guilty. I should have not dealt, but I felt guilty about her phone bill that I was running up and shit like that. So I'm like, hey, man, if you bring me a gram or two, I'll get you the money. And that way,
taking that risk,
and that way you ain't carrying me.
Yeah,
you dig.
Yeah.
So we start dealing in there, and that's the beginning of. I mean, I got a disciplinary transfer behind it. I did a year in the hole behind it, and the feds got involved. And what happened was, so I'm running all this fucking dope, and I got my own little enterprise going. And the white dudes run the gambling ticket, or they have one. But they really ran it. There was not a black gambling ticket, or it was all white dudes. Big Jimmy Kearns, who shot a federal judge, was running. He's dead now, so, you know. But him and his cronies were running the show. Behind you. What is this one, mine? Yeah. All the way over there?
Wait.
They're both the same.
Oh, they're both black?
Which one? Okay, give me that one.
They're the same. You want that one?
If you don't mind.
No.
Because you can hand it to me,
Closest
and then
to
you
you.
can still grab that one.
Yeah. Well, we're not sponsored by Starbucks.
Yeah, no fucking way.
I typically, you know,
Don't do it.
No, but I will do it because I need some coffee. Yeah. Thank you.
So they got the gambling ticket and dope, and then I'm running dope, and this fucking guy doesn't pay for a basketball thing, so they pipe him, and they take his ear off, but they don't kill him. Well, he came to, that guy, they couldn't shut that fucker up with sedatives, and he ratted on me, everyone he knew. So the next time Michelle comes to the joint, she's got 14 grams upper coochie in balloons, and the FBI's waiting for her. Pop, they grab her.
Can you walk me through the process of? I mean,
Anything you want.
It's
I
not.
know
It's,
I'm running
it's
it, but-
probably not as elaborate as
What?
say in American Me when they were running the dope.
That is not possible.
They're like putting it
That's
inside
not
the
possible.
plumbing, and they have
Not
to go
possible.
through.
Not possible. You couldn't do it. That's
Right.
all made up. There might have been a time in Foley where they could maybe do that, but there's no way a dude had his hand in the fucking shitter tube catching balloons. No fucking way. They're just keistering it or swallowing it and bringing it in. It's that simple.
We demythed it. Walk me through exactly what the process was. So she would just take it out of.
She'd go to the bathroom, take it out. It would be small enough for me to put in my mouth. She'd have like a milk, spit it in the milk. Hand me, you want a drink of it? I drink it. There'd be, and then.
So you're the reasons why you can't touch up the other. Like when I go to see my brother now, you can't touch their food.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
is
you
that
can't-
right? They changed that where
They can't really-
you can't. Yeah, that's why. Because
I feel like that's-
because the other thing that she would do is she would get chips and open them before I'd get there and put it in there, and they go, "You want some chips, Shane?" And then
yeah.
but I don't want to give up too much game.
Oh shit!
I mean, I don't want to give up too much.
I'm gonna beep out
Some
all
of it
that stuff
because I don't want to give
the
up.
80s though.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it is.
I mean,
it's
shit's like
40 years ago, so
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing now.
Yeah.
But okay, so with me, and then I would either keister it if I got a chance, like and the visit ends.
For the people for the people out there
go to the
that are
hoop,
not,
go to the butt with it. Yeah,
you would put
go
it,
to the butt with it.
Okay.
And or swallow it.
And that's why it's in a latex balloon.
It's in many balloons. It's over and over and over and over and over and over. You put it in one and then you tie it again and again and again and again, and that's important.
Because you don't want that shit to open up.
I would rather not.
Yeah.
You know, but
different reasons.
But none ever did.
Okay.
And I had one time. I had like 15 fucking street bags in this big balloon, and it was in my mouth, and the cop was coming, and I swallowed it, and I almost choked. Like, I mean, I couldn't get it down, and finally I got it down. And the cop grabbed me and he was taking me to the strip cell, and I had a syringe in another balloon that was cut down, and there was a hole in the wall, and I just pushed it into the hole in the wall, and they didn't catch me with anything. Damn. That fucking balloon took about a week. It had to break. The bigger one had to break so that the little ones could come out. It took like a week to come out.
Oh, gotcha.
But
okay.
So
it's just one giant.
It was learning,
Wow.
because the experience is to have them pretty small so they can come out. The other thing is okay, if you're going to throw them up, which you can, if you swallow them right before, then you drink a cup of salt water, and really salted water will help you. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you have to push them out. And the thing that mistake fuckers make is they take laxatives. And once you take laxatives, your shit won't push the balloon out. It'll go around it.
It'll
Stay.
Yeah.
It'll just stay there.
Yeah.
Bad mistake. So it's better just to eat and let it come out naturally.
Poor guys that had to learn that for the first time.
Me. I went through everything you could ever go through.
Yeah.
You name the experience as far as dope in prison. I went through it. People not paying, me having to do something, fucking, you name it.
Yeah, that's
Michelle. They used to call my friends. We call her the Saint. She was Saint Michelle because that chick was down, and she beat the feds. They searched her and they didn't find it. She beat them. She was a good crime partner. I mean, good.
She's still around? Is she still
She's
around?
living at her mom's, but she's having mental problems. God bless her. But she always was a little nutty. But I think it's a trait that happens to old punkers. Some of them. But
I'm starting to find that out.
I talked to her. I talked to her this year. I've talked to her this year. Yeah, I talked to her a little bit every now and then. God
I think
bless
there's
her.
actually some truth to that because I think most punk are like the ones are you gotta kind of lose your mind a little bit. You know what I mean? You do. I've definitely lost my mind a little bit. I'm actually gonna break and then put a new battery in that one. Oh yeah.
Politics, San Quentin. Okay. You're in the East Block. You smell weed. It's lockdown. It's nighttime. You hear white dudes go, "Second tier, who's smoking dope?" Because you're not supposed to do anything without telling them. There's different gangs, and you got to tell them what's up. You dig? You're supposed to. Not that you have to, but, me, I would try to hit without them knowing. And I mean, that's what I would have done. I didn't hit there, but obtain dope. But a dude would smoke weed and they'd literally go second tier. They'd be on the third tier, these two guys, a guy from San Diego, another guy, made guys, AB guys. And they'd be like, I shouldn't even say that. Second tier, who's smoking dope? And then I was there, the guy's like, it's brothers. It was black guys. They're like, it's brothers. And they're telling them, don't worry about it, because then it's not their business.
Oh, gotcha.
If the brothers got it, it's got nothing. They're thinking some white dude's smoking it, and they want their fucking end. You dig? Mm. Like, the joint was still then. But the thing is, and it's really important, I think, you don't have to get involved in that shit. You didn't even then have to get involved in it. Although its tentacles were in everything. But you didn't have to get, you know what I mean? There were lots of dudes doing their bit. But if things played into it, I think it even got more political in the 90s than it was in the 80s. And
how so?
I had a cellie that ended up having, was like a shot caller for one of them newer ones, white gang, one of them got, and he was. And I was like, God, if that guy's running shit, they're dumb as a motherfucker, because that guy couldn't think his way out of a paper bag. He was my
the lowriders.
Yeah, he was my cellie in Phoenix in the feds, and I'm dealing, right? And he's my cellie. Every time I fix, he fixes. Okay, I want his job. How about you deal, and I just stick my arm out every time you dig?
Yeah.
But no, he wants to be the man. He wants to deal. So he wants me to let him have some of it so he can sell. He's going to sell. And every time the dudes would burn him. And I had to get him out of speed debts and shit. He was like a fucking retard. Next thing you know, I'm out 4 or 5 years. I get a call from Chino. Homeboy's got the keys there. Palm Hall or whatever. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? You're a fucking idiot. Like, I mean, whatever. I'm not saying I'm not wanting no trouble, but he's an idiot. And if he's got the keys, which he wouldn't tell me he did if he didn't, he's an idiot. He's a fucking idiot. And that guy, I'm like, really? He's running shit? Jesus. And he told me at that time that shit that we were doing was violations there. Like that you can't even sit at a black table, or you can't even, you could do that in the feds. You could do that in some of the joints. But he tattooed. He did my stomach. And he tattooed a black guy. And that's a straight violation in the state. You can't tattoo a black guy in there. At least you couldn't when I was in. Maybe you can now. But in the feds, it wasn't. It's weird. It's weird.
Politics in general are weird. In prison, I was gonna say back in the 60s, or I was gonna ask, and hopefully you have the answer. It wasn't as segregated as it ultimately became, right? I would really like to talk about what
in the beginning,
shift of that.
Old man Jimmy told me that back in the day, the biggest guy, that black guy, let's just talk about it. No, I'm just me. He could tell him, sit down, and the dude would do it because they were second. Civil rights hadn't happened yet. I mean, he went to Quentin in late 40s. Mm-hmm. In the 40s and 50s, I don't know what was going on with the blacks, but they weren't fucking with white dudes. And then the civil rights happened, and then racial tensions, and that's when the AB formed. And you dig what I'm saying?
So at one point, what I guess I'm gathering is that what was going on in society was reflected sort of similarly in there. Always. It's a shadow.
It's a microcosm of the world. Yeah, always. But he told me, him and old man Pete told me that you could do that there. And Jimmy burnt the jute. See, the thing about Jimmy, I think Jimmy liked that I had been in SQ because Jimmy burnt the rope factory down there in 48.
So Jimmy was
Old man Jimmy Thomas. We talked about him last time.
He was one of the major influences on you.
Without question.
Top up there.
Without question. There's a few that are major influences. He was one. David Bianchini, the Vietnam vet, was one.
Gotcha.
All father figures I met in prison.
But so back, the 50s, 60s, pre, I guess, the civil rights movement, as far as integration of...
I don't think it was really a problem.
It wasn't sort of divided the way that
I think the actual civil rights created that. I think. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. There's just too many dudes are still alive that were...
I just always wonder how... Because I'm not using Hollywood as a reference, but you'd look at a lot of those movies where they were convicts, so they were both convicts. And I feel like a lot of convicts didn't really subscribe to what was going on.
I don't think the rules...
Society.
I don't think... Jimmy said that you could... that they mind their own business. You look at that picture of Jimmy and Folsom with fucking the fellas. That picture was in the, you can see two black dudes with their hats on the weight pile. And it really makes you wonder what the fuck. That was 66. Okay, so 65, and then it began changing. 68. But you got to understand, the Mexican Mafia formed in the late 50s in Tracy. Is where it started. The kids started it. It was all kids that started, and they sent them to Quentin thinking it was going to calm them down, and instead they just... You can't... Look, 17-year-old and 18-year-olds, they fight wars. You can't send those dudes to Quentin,
I didn't want to go to YA because I feared that I would get way more involved with what was going on.
Yeah.
If I didn't go... Because at least with state, you had adults or lifers... to guide you. It's just Lord of the Flies and
and everyone's trying.
They close them down, right? Are they?
Yeah. That's ended
for good.
They're going to
reason.
if they aren't closed, they're closing them. But the problem they're going to have is now each county is going to be responsible, and you have youth guys doing life.
Gotcha.
So what are you going to do? Leave them in juvenile hall till they turn 18 and then send them to Pelican Bay, or how the fuck is that going to work? Now, I'm not a proponent of Prestone School for Boys or YTS or whatever, but in the same token, I don't think they're thinking that through. And I'm not saying I love we need YA. I'm just saying, I just don't.
It's not like a good alternative to it. They're just closing it down.
This is what I always trip on these fuckers that check in. Okay? They go to the joint, their kids, or they go to YA. Their entire fucking goal is to get into one of these gangs. That is their fucking goal. They'll kill anybody. They don't give a fuck. I don't know about, but the thing is, then they get in, and then there's a power shift or politics, because that shit is politics. You get involved in that shit, one guy's running it, next thing you know, someone else gets the power, you fall in the hat, they're going to kill you, you check in. Well, maybe you're doing life, so the rest of your life you're going to be in PC. How the fuck does that work? I mean, what the fuck? So I don't have a lot of mercy for them, because I walked with them, but I had friends that, you know what I mean? But it was not an ambition of mine.
Yeah, let's talk about that experience, talking about the going from where you were at to a place that was completely different than the way that you were living, like just completely with all that.
From the street to prison, kind of?
The street, yeah. Well, just the politics of prison and the segregation, the racial thing.
I didn't even have a bed on the street.
Yeah.
I was a street kid. Kind of with Casey I did, but let's be real. That was just my girlfriend did. I didn't. So I go to the joint. I don't know how to make a bed. I don't know how to iron my clothes. Shit, I didn't even own underwear. You know how weird that was? Because they all wear underwear in there. Okay, I'm a punk rock kid that just has jeans, no underwear. I mean, I'm a street kid.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time in when I was busted for the banks, and they were searching me, and they're like, "Where's your underwear?" Fucking underwear. I haven't even worn underwear since I was 12. You know what I mean? And I was, oh my God, it's just so different. So different. You know what I mean? And then I realized, oh my God, this is, and then also, I'm in Oakland in the beginning, and the Hells Angels get busted, and they're in there with me. The Oakland Hells Angels, that Sonny Barger, all of them. I know all those guys. We all knew, and one of them was busted for bombs, and I think his name's Michael. He's kind of a famous angel. He gave some rat some dynamite or something, and he's like, hippie shack, calling my bed a hip. You know what I mean? And I hadn't been through anything. I didn't even know what the fuck he was talking about. Like I didn't understand about keeping yourself, in the joint, everyone keeps their self fucking clean, man. I mean, you keep that shit strack and good, and your Bonnaroos and fucking your shit ironed, and that's just fucking the way you do it in there.
But we always actually made fun of the bikers, we call them booger eaters, for not
doing that shit.
Well, no, their cells were all dirty. I was telling you earlier, my floor was.
He's the guy that was busted for the, and you could bleep it out or not, but he's done with his time. And he was the first one to give me a hard time but he had just gotten out. He was one of them HAs that spent a lot of time in prison. Mm-hmm. So he'd just gotten out, so he'd gotten used to having his cell a certain, and then we're in the county jail together, and I'm fucking, there's a window near my bunk, and I'm smoking cigarettes and just tapping the
get closer.
I'm tapping the cigarettes in the edge of the window. There's no ashtray. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, what? What do you care? It ain't your fucking house.
Yeah.
And he's like, it is my house. This is our house.
This is
like,
where
what are
we
you
live
doing?
now. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had to learn all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd been in trouble my whole life, but California's different, man. Colorado and California, different prisons, different. Yeah. But the funny thing is that deep down, it's the same shit, man. Fucking buildings with gun towers and what? Go ahead.
I was just gonna. How do you think that had something to do with your personality? Because I feel that for certain individuals, like say if you were in the punk rock scene and then you end up in prison, you're gonna have a really fucking hard time, and then you don't know how to adapt, and you don't know what the hell is going on.
I was a street kid. I could adapt to anything.
So I was
adapted within 30 days.
Yeah,
I had my hair cut right, was buttoning my top shirt up.
You just observed everything that was going on. You took.
Well, actually, I fell in with the right crowd. Mm-hmm. I caught the chain with the right crowd, and they were white gangsters.
Yeah.
And they schooled me, and they weren't even schooling me right, because I was hitting dope. That was, you dig? It was not cool.
Yeah.
But once I got around a few good dudes, Sammy King, God bless him, Old Man Jimmy, they really hipped me. And they're like, those guys you're with, those are snake pitted dudes. Get the fuck away from them dudes. And you know what I mean? And then when you first go in there, you don't know the wannabes from the regs. You don't know any of that shit. And you see a dude and he's totally covered in tattoos and you think he's a regular and then you find out he's a fucking rat. It doesn't mean shit. It's just tattoos. And that was going on in there then. Except the difference was, I say this a lot. I said, I think last time, now there weren't that many check-ins back then. There were, but not like now. And you know, I think yeah, I adapt good. I'm a street kid. So yeah, I adapted good. And I knew I was going to be in there a long fucking time. And because I'd grown up in group homes and juvenile hall and work camps and fucking, I knew what prison was like. I just didn't know what California, we're different. We are. Quentin, Folsom. I mean, California's it, man. I mean, I'm not saying that other places don't have badass prisons. They do. Louisiana, Angola, there's badass prisons in a lot of places. But California's its own animal, man. We're kind of.
When did that thought for you really hit that, you know, or you come to define like California as being like one of those you know, like they don't make them like they do in other places.
When they shipped us east, they don't like guys in the feds. The guys in the feds don't like Cali boys east. And the car got smaller and smaller. I did a video about this. Okay, so I'm in this feds. Michelle, the feds bust her. They catch her with nothing. So they get me I have the letter. I can show it to you. Where they bust me for possible involvement in a possible food strike. Oh, fucking the warden's son could be. Okay. They shipped me to the east. As we went to El Reno, Oklahoma, all of a sudden they don't like California guys as much. And then by the time I get to New York or fucking Pennsylvania, there's only a couple of us.
And this is after you did your time in San Quentin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Quentin was the beginning.
That was just kind of...
That was the beginning. I thought I was going to do all my time there.
Okay. So overall, you did one year state?
About, yeah.
Yeah. And then the rest...
Then the rest in the feds.
Okay.
Because then what happened is the Fed time ate up the state time. I forget if they paroled me. I just remember it ate it up. And I remember when I got out, I had a couple parole officers, not one, but a few, but I was labeled as an associate. So at that time they had, my regular parole officer was David Elias. And then they had a guy named Don Hart, who was the IG, the institutional gang investigator or whatever. And you know, I think because of my association with Old Man Jimmy and some of my associates, you know, and I think, but yeah.
So you were in state and then you went to the feds.
Was in the feds, then the state, then the feds.
I guess like more so like when it hit, like, fuck, I'm in prison. What was something that happened?
Fights.
The fights. And then you said like right when you had gotten off the bus, like within a week, like somebody got hit.
Oh, and Quentin, this is the same day.
Yeah.
Quentin was bad. I mean, I don't know what everyone else, but Quentin in the 80s was bad.
Can you describe to people that don't know about San Quentin, like the building itself?
San Quentin's called the Bastille by the Bay. And the history of San Quentin is it was a prison ship that they parked in the bay in 1850 or 51 when California, 1849, the 49ers, and they started building Quentin up onto in Marin County. San Rafael, but it's Marin County. They started building Quentin, and Quentin didn't have a layout like modern prisons because they just kept adding on. And that different, and you know, that's where the death row is, and now that's the only high level place in Quentin. But yeah, the Bastille by the Bay, Quimas, they call it too. Quimas. I don't know if they still do SQ, and you know,
looks like an old medieval castle or something.
Yeah, and also when I first got there. The first day, someone got hit, and at that time, they weren't yet doing like real long lockdowns yet. You dig? If someone got hit, you were locked down for a day or two, and then everyone's back out fucking around. You know what I mean? All the gangs were there. First night, there's a dude selling burritos. There's hustles, lots of good hustles in Quentin. I had the fudge recipe from San Quentin. And I took it to the feds, and me and my homeboy Snookers, who's from East LA, he's not my homeboy. He's my homeboy in the feds. It's from Los Angeles. In the state, it's literally Hollywood, or you know where you dig what I'm saying? So, right?
You had a fudge recipe?
I had the San Quentin fudge. I still have it.
What is that?
It's just the best fudge, man. And so we sell it Dalla Holla.
Dalla Holla.
Dalla Holla. That's right. Me and Snookers would, and when I worked in the bakery in Terminal Island. We would make fudge. That was our hustle. Fudge and cinnamon rolls.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, Snookers had done time in Quentin too, way before me, like in the 60s and 70s. And he's an older Mexican dude from East LA, Armando Bernal. He's dead now. He's dead.
It's amazing to me how you can just recall names like that. The fudge, when's the last time you made it?
I haven't made it in years. Listen, another thing I know I make, and you can ask Karen, I make peppers and sausage and peppers. And Rosario Gambino taught me how to make peppers and sausage. And Rosario Gambino was one of the Pizza Connection dudes. Famous dude. He's like the nephew of Carlo Gambino. And he was in Terminal Island. And my friend Bob Booth, Bonehead, introduced me to him. And me and Bob worked in the kitchen at that time. We were mopping the floors out front. And he's like, hey, come here. And he was a real Italian, like they call them zips, because they're from the other side. And he goes, come here. And in the kosher kitchen, and he taught me how to make peppers and sausage. And you can go on my Instagram way back. You'll see pictures. I'd make them. But yeah, Rosario Gambino.
We have to do a video of us doing, or you making the fudge and doing that pasta. But I would love to eat the...
Peppers and sausage?
Yeah, I'll have to eat some vegan stuff, but...
Oh, you're vegan, huh?
Yeah.
No, you got to have the peppers, man. I don't know how you're going to do it without it.
Yeah, without it.
But yeah, man. I just think... I don't know if it was my personality but I was always in the right place kind of at the right time, like for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the recipe. I mean, I just saw the guy in the news. They just bust him in Italy, and I was like on Instagram, like, I know that fucking dude. We did time together. I know that dude. And I do. I got photo. I'll show you. You know what I mean? I know all these fucking guys.
Yeah.
Like, it was
That's
wonderful. And like, that's what I was saying. It was a lot smaller world. Like, yeah. So what I took from Quentin was the fudge recipe.
The fudge recipe.
Yeah, man.
And then were you?
And I told Snookers I had it. He's like, you have the San Quentin fudge recipe? I'm like, yeah, I got it. He's like, you're kidding? And I go, no, because he had done time. And he's like, we can make a killing. And so then we start hoarding the ingredients in the bakery to make it on the side. And then we make squares and sell them. Yeah, and we also make cinnamon rolls. And we'd sell those too. We sometimes turnovers, but the Quentin fudge recipe was it.
Is that tight? They feel like tight after a while.
Yeah,
You
a
good?
little in COVID, man. I mean, I don't think I'm contagious anymore, but
I hope not.
Well, too late, motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm done. Fucking got in.
No, there's no. No, you're only contagious a couple weeks.
Gotcha. So you go back to the feds. You're looking at your 8 years. Are
you know what really sucked?
What?
Okay.
All of it? I'm sure.
No. I'll tell you what. I wrote, because I write, I used to feel really safe in there. I really felt...
I feel you on that.
I really felt good in there and safe. And when you get it, after, you get used to all the bullshit and, you get your little... I really felt safe in there,
I back you 100% on that, and I still deal with that war going on inside. Where I out here, I feel exposed. There's just so many different variables, and there, I know this guy. I know how this guy. People's programs. It just really comes down to that.
That's right.
And you construct this life that is, and out here is completely, and I think that's why a lot of dudes go back. It's too fucking much out here.
What sucked at Quentin was when when I caught the chain in the morning back to the feds, I didn't pack all my stuff. I wasn't sure what was going on. You know, and sometimes you'll get a hack that'll tell you, and sometimes you won't. But they didn't go, Shane, roll it up. You're going back to the feds for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? They're just like, roll it up. And I had been in court and been in so much trouble and I don't fucking, roll it up. Court in Frisco, roll it up. Court in LA, roll it up. Court for the state, roll it up. San Quentin, roll it up. Terminal Island, roll it up, roll it up, roll it up, roll. What the fuck? And, I had a good beanie and I had a lot of cool shit, you know what I mean? And fucking,
The little things, man.
I had these great bank robbery photos of me, man, that are gone now. I had 4 of them and I left them in fucking Quentin. I left them there. Yeah.
Damn.
Fuck, I wish I had those now.
I was looking for all my paperwork and 115s because I brought all that stuff home.
I have it in the next room.
You
can't find it?
I don't know where it's at. And I feel like there's a little part of me that is, died a little bit, not being able to go back and just look at, it's trippy.
And when I broke up with the mother of my son, I moved to New York. She met some dude and wanted to see where it was going to go. And I was like, I got to get out of here. I'm going to kill somebody because I was real upset. We had a home and kids, and I thought this was it. And so I packed a fucking car and drove. When I got to Colorado, which is where my sister was there, and I gave her all my prison shit. I said, throw this all away. I've been dragging this around. I don't want it anymore. I want to change my identity. I don't want to be an ex-convict. Throw it all away. Yeah. She didn't. And now I'm really happy she didn't, man, because at the time I thought I'd been out 8 years or 4 years or 6 years. It was a little more. It was maybe 8 years. And I thought, you know what, Shane? It's too much of your identity, But that's where I get back to the original. It will always be my identity. I grew up in there. I learned how to wash my clothes in there. I learned how to make a bed in there. I learned how to fucking iron clothes in there. I learned how to my word meant everything. I learned how to be a man in there. Everything I fucking learned is in there. And you know what? It'll never leave me. The first time I ever saw somebody killed was in there. The first time I ever saw someone beat a man was in there. Shit happens in there and it never leaves you. I don't give a fuck. You can try, but you're also talking about a punk rock kid who was ambitious. And not so much to be a shot caller in one of them, but ambitious in, I hate the government. I put me in the hole, motherfucker. Beat me. I don't give a kill me. I'll go right now. Now I have kids and grandkids, you know what I mean? But at that time, I was that guy. Yeah, I was that guy, man. Yeah, we're going to go. We'll fight. Okay, I fought cops. I have paperwork on it. I did not give 4-point tie downs, all that. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but
let's let me restart the camera.
Yeah. You want to do this?
No, I think because we're gonna be able to talk about individual stories,
right?
And you I know you have a ton of them. So how is tattooing?
Okay.
Okay.
I just tattooing briefly. I was a punker in Long Beach at Nordic Conquest. The Pike's right there. We went down to the Pike. I was 16 years old. Bob Shaw does this fucking hot stuff on me to cover Led Zepp.
Oh, yeah. You had talked about that in part 1. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. There's a guy named John Horst Sandler that Ed Hardy got out of San Quentin to work at Tattoo City.
Ed Hardy's the guy that makes
the
those
big
t-shirts?
guy. Well, yeah, that's what everyone. Yeah,
no, I'm just joking. That's what most people know.
Yeah, they do say that. Ed Hardley.
Oh yeah.
And I met him down on the Pike.
Long Beach.
And I was enamored. He's in Quentin, and he was a really gentle solo. He wasn't like you'd picture, like a big fucking. You know what I mean? He was like a small, very artistic dope fiend, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I dug him, and then he was robbing banks, and he was telling me he's another one. See, last time I talked about who was teaching me how to rob banks, so did Horace teach me how to rob banks. And then Horace robbed banks and he fell asleep at the bus bench after he robbed a bank, and the cops fell asleep. He nodded out at the bus bench, and they busted him. He's in fucking Terminal Island. I roll up to Terminal Island. He's got a big tattoo Bob put on his neck. We're in there together. We sell
Bob
together.
Roberts? Okay.
We sell. He worked with Bob, and he worked with Katie, Helen Brand, and all them up there at Tattoo City in the late 70s. And then me and him are in Terminal Island together. We were cellies, and then and Sammy King's another tattooer. You know, like
At this point, how many tattoos did you have?
I had a lot.
You had already
I had a lot.
sort of fell
when
in
I got
love
there
with tattoo culture?
Yeah, I had like this one and this one, and there's a picture of me, 18 years old, showing the tattoos I had on the street before I went.
Is that the one that you had the black tank top?
Yeah, you know how I'm doing this.
yeah.
So I had like here, 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 just like, you know, like I'm Bon Scott kind of. You know what I mean? The Bon Scott issue, and then this and this, and then this, and then I started getting prison. You know what I mean?
What was the first tattoo that you got?
What, in prison?
No, just in general.
The devil to cover Led Zepp was the first professional one I got.
First professional
And
one.
then I got Daffy Duck.
Okay.
And then I got Justice, Mahoney did. And then I got Sun House because of the blues.
Yeah.
You know, that's the
dig
R.
that.
Crumb one. You know,
Yeah,
that
R.
kind
Crumb.
of. I have a
love R.
monkey on my back with an outfit nodding out that Mahoney did. That's fucking was like a legendary tattoo.
So you had already you were already getting tattoos. Then you met the cat that was, what was his name?
Horse, John Sandler. He's dead now.
John Sandler. Okay, you had met him, and then he was robbing banks, and then
He
you
goes to
ended
the
up,
state.
And then you ended up seeing him in state.
Well, and in Feds.
Or
in
in
the
Feds, yeah.
He was writing Ed Hardy and sending art from Quentin. And then he actually had a tattoo shop. I think it was called Hell City. I could be wrong about that, in San Rafael. And I always thought, yeah, motherfucker, you got fired from Tattoo City. You opened that tattoo shop so you could help the dudes in Quentin that needed help. You know what I mean? He's right there in the town.
Yeah,
Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now. Yeah.
And
Horse.
had you thought about tattooing at all?
No.
Did you draw?
No, I drew. Yeah, Karen showed you those things
Yeah.
when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
My grandfather, who also taught me to read and everything, I talked about him last time. Biggest influence in my life as far as being smart. He taught me to draw. We drew he's German, and we drew World War I airplanes together. And so I can draw World War I airplanes. And you'll see, like in my station at work or everywhere, I always have World War I airplanes because of Bompa. This is an OPA, Bompa, whatever. But yeah, I could. And then I had done hand-poked ones in juvenile, you know what I mean? But then when I got to the Feds, where there were, not in Quentin, I didn't get any. But when we got to the Feds, I started with Horace and Sam, and then I started fucking around with those dudes. And then I'm like, I can draw. And then I started tattooing, yeah.
What was the first one that you did? Do you remember?
On somebody?
Yeah. I just asked you, do you remember, which I think
I
is
have the patterns over there.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
It was a dude in a sombrero, you know. I did on a dude from Bassett Grande.
Damn.
You know that neighborhood?
No.
Bassett Grande.
Oh, Bassett?
Yeah.
No.
The Night Owls.
Is that northern or southern?
Southern. Down. It's out. It's a small neighborhood down by like El Monte and stuff. Bassett Grande.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a Bassett Park that I skate at with a
Probably
ramp.
there. Probably.
Same
Is it in like?
It's off of the 60
Yeah,
and
that's
like 605 area. So it's like pretty close.
But there's Bassett Night Owls and Bassett Grande and Bassett Tiny Locos.
That sounds like old school.
Maybe, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm
yeah, they might not even be around
you know,
anymore.
I said this last time. I was always the youngest dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Same.
It was very strange as I got older, younger guys. You know what I mean? I remember when I got out of the joint, I'm 30. I'm in the best shape. You've seen pictures of me. I was in great shape and fucking just gangstered to the bone, big whip and the whole thing. And I'd go into someplace and some kid would go, "Yes, sir." And I'd be like, "Who the fuck you talking to, man? I'm a kid." Because, you know, the funny thing about there, just like drugs, you don't necessarily grow normal like the regular people do. So you get out and you're 30, but you're still 22. You dig? There's a lot of people. Because even 45-year-olds that did 25 years, their humor is like, shit humor and dick humor.
Like
you know,
juvenile,
yeah, man,
Yeah.
serious business. That fucking place stunts your growth, man. It enhances your growth. You're aware. It's a very strange prison, American prison, California prison, federal. It's a very strange place. Very strange. You know, I saw a TV show. I was just talking about this because it relates to COVID and these fucking shots. Okay, I used to fight the squad in the hole, sell extractions. I mean, I was a punk rock. I was very mad, and a lot of times I've always been that guy. There's an injustice. Well, then I'm gonna fucking take it all the way. You know, you're fucking with them, and you how dare you? And yeah, come in here,
You're
mother.
personally gonna fucking take it on.
Personally gonna let you beat me to death over it. Because they
Way
did.
to look out for yourself.
Yeah, I'm personally gonna let you beat me and throw me and break my feet and all that. But they started while I was in there, 91 or 92, medical handcuffs, and that meant they could drug you in the feds. That's a whole new animal. I don't mind an ass whooping. But you're going to hold me down and put some kind of fucking Thorazine in me or something? And then I watched one of them TV shows, I think I told you, and it looked like, the whole looked like a mental institution. There's a bunch of dudes walking around, those ripped fucking, like, whatever the fuck those were, and they're like, putting
all, like,
shit
drug-
on themselves
drugged
and
out?
yelling and pounding, and just, it wasn't like doing whole time, you know what I mean? Doing a shoe program, you know? And that was in Maine, and I don't know, maybe there's scrap in Maine, I don't know. No disrespect to anyone that's in Maine. But I used trip because it just looked more like a nut ward than it did,
Yeah.
you know. And there's that movie, The Big House, Lewisburg. I was around there when that happened. I was in the hole when they filmed that, and they walk through the hole. So if you want an idea, go to YouTube and
I'll put a link in there on the description. I want to go back to tattooing because I think ultimately, right? Well,
I'm a tattooer. That's what I'm known as a tattooer.
You're known as a tattooer, but I mean, partially one of the reasons that sort of
you found
maybe
me was that.
Well, that and the saving grace for you was like getting clean, right? And then like, tattooing because I don't really know too much, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of people out there that don't know much about like that process.
You know, it's changed a lot. When
After.
I got out and I was tattooing. Okay, first my pro officer told me I couldn't tattoo.
Let's go back a little bit to when you were tattooing and did you just go full on with it where you were like one of the dudes that was tattooing all the time? No,
but I selled with the dudes that were. And I did it sometimes, but I didn't really start tattooing until I couldn't get dope anymore. I was more concentrating on hitting dope and in that shit. And my celly, I always had a celly that was the best tattooer in the joint. Always. There were other really good ones. There was a guy.
Was that by design for you?
We just would end up together.
Just kind of random.
I just end up in the mess.
Yeah.
And it was always with tattooers. For some reason, Sammy King, Horse, Rick Geese, Dean's Velling in the East. I was always with these tattooers, kind of. And I could do it, but I didn't always like to. I'm a very reluctant tattooer. Even to this day, dudes have ambition and they fucking draw and they paint, and I can draw and paint. I mean, oil paint. I can do it, but it's not my ambition. Like, so I'm a lazy tattooer, and people are like, Jesus, he ain't even that good. You know what I mean? And it's not that I can do really good work. I kind of let the customer, the person, because if you move, you say ouch, you give me a hard time, no problem. I can finish this in 5 minutes. Okay, you're done. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like where I think a lot of guys are like, you got to do every tattoo like it's the last one you'll ever fucking do. And, I just think that I just got jaded because I've been around it since the beginning of time.
Yeah, you've seen it shift and change forms. And
now
I was also going to say too that you seem like a historian. Like you appreciate like where the things come from and how they operate.
My grandfather got me into that.
Right, because that trickles over into, I think, your connection to tattooing with the machines
Yeah, and
and everything.
I'm known like as a machine historian.
You seem to get more excited about knowing about the things than, and not feeling that you have to totally just participate 100%, like you said, like you could.
I'm always surprised more guys don't know more about it. I always think they do, but they don't.
But I'm the same way. Like when I get into things, I really need to learn and know everything about it. And then I kind of learn about it. And then I don't feel like I need to be about that thing. I kind of will move on. But
well, kind of like with the theme of today, okay, of what's happening in the world today with this woke culture and everything. And God bless you, woke, whatever. But, this destroying of our history and this rewriting of our history. And, because it's funny because last year, George Washington was a goddamn slave fucking holder, that prick, a goddamn slave owner. And this year, he's like, he was the first one that ever mandated vaccines. So he's a hero. And I'm like, okay, assholes, which is it? Last year he was a slave holder. This year he's a fucking hero. Make up your fucking mind. Because I got really upset when they started attacking. Okay, because you cannot judge the past in today's standards. It's a different world.
You can't judge Grandpa for fucking. His Polish jokes.
You really. It's a different world then, and progress happens. You dig? And if we erase or change that, or get even offended by it, we're doomed to repeat it. Mm-hmm. I really believe that. See, I like history. Yeah, I mean, dude, I'll take you. This is nothing. These books, that's nothing. I have a room that is, you can't even step in it. There's so many goddamn books in there. And I read every fucking one of them. I'm reading 3 right now, right there.
What's your favorite book on? You said within tattooing, there's not too much on the history of...
There wasn't. Okay,
okay,
let's talk about this. I'd love to talk about this. Okay, there used to be maybe 3 books on tattooing. There was Albert Perry's A Secret and a Strange Art, written in the 20s and 30s, which is a very good read. There was Huck Spalding's A to Z. There was one called Pierced Hearts and True Love, not Ed Hardy's, but one that was kind of a European book. And then that's it. And now there are thousands. Every shithead that gets an old fucking Flash collection puts a book out now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's because they all know that tattooers will pay. It's a money thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, people have been bugging me. People have been talking. I've been the machine guy, the history of tattoo machines for years. My best friends are the best builders in the world. Scott Sterling, Brian Hibbert. I mean, I'm known as a machine guy. I don't build machines. I can. I know a lot about them. Ken Cameron's another really good friend of mine. He's a great machine builder. But the book, people do these books for money. I got this one sheet of Flash. I think I'll put a book together of each page is one thing, and it'll be 50 pages, and I'll charge $100. You dig? So people are bugging me, man. Shane, you should really do a book, man. And they tell me that about doing a book about bank robbery, doing a book about prison, doing a book about my philosophies, doing a book. I mean, and I get it. I should write more. So when I wrote my book, Tattoo Machine Discourses Volume 1, it is not a fucking encyclopedia on how to fucking check out machines. There is that in there, but it's my relationship with them. Because I was hesitant to write a book about that shit. Because if you were older, you're taught to keep it secret, never to tell anyone. And you see why now. Bob Shaw and the older tattooers and Colonel Todd, you learn what you learn and you keep your fucking mouth shut. Because if I tell you you're going to open a shop, and then another guy, and the internet comes out, and then people do all these YouTube videos. How to black shade, how to do a portrait, how to fucking pack color, how to set your machine up, and next thing you know, you don't need apprenticeships anymore. In the whole world, there's 1 million tattoo shops. And of course, a lot of people will say, yeah, well, it's not like it used to be where there's these fucking druggy bikers that keep it to themselves. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know what world you came from, but I don't think Bob Shaw and Leroy Menu and these dudes were druggy bikers. I think they were dudes that knew their hustle. And part of a tattooer's hustle used to be to dazzle people with their bullshit. You dig? So when you come in there and you get a tattoo, you're the most special person. This is the world famous Burt Grimm shop. Come in and pick a design, hand painted off the wall, and I'm gonna put it on you, and we're gonna laugh and joke, right? And you're the most important person in the world to me. And then people start seeing, these kids start seeing they can make money. They come out of art school and they're arrogant, and a person can get the best tattoo in the fucking world, and if the guy's an asshole, because I know guys, the best tattooers in the world, I'm like, God, man, I don't even really like this tattoo because the guy was an asshole to him. He was an arrogant prick that charged him $500 for, yeah, you can get that. Yeah, that's not the point. And I'm always like, yeah, I ran a jackhammer when I got out of the joint for about 8 years. I know what it's like to work for money. Hard work. You know, some guy comes in there and wants a tattoo, and you're like, yeah, it'll be $600. And you think I'm getting over, you know, because you're making money and you got a nice house and a car and fucking, but the truth is, it's not about doing the one tattoo for $600. It's about doing 15 tattoos for $100. That guy is going to send his family, his brother, his sister, his cousin, his uncle, you know what I mean? But when you're an arrogant prick, a lot of tattooers, I said this in my book, just because you whip shade don't make you Yoda, motherfucker. You know, it's become this, who sponsors you? And it's like skateboarding now. All of a sudden, you know, oh, I'm sponsored by this company and these inks and this. And what exactly does that mean, motherfucker? You getting a fucking paycheck from them? Oh, no, you get some free shit. Go fuck yourself. I'm really opinionated about it because...
Well, and then things become oversaturated.
They are oversaturated.
The value and the substance of that thing. I was actually I made the connection to that. Thank you, Ira. I was the connection to that type of mentality with what you're talking about with prisoners, with a lot of the dudes that, you know, were about it. And now they're, you know, going in lockup. And
yeah.
There's this.
They were faking it.
There's some sort of similar where even with the mafia, with the mafiosos,
yeah,
with the code.
That really upsets me. Like,
it does me too.
Shit.
Yeah, it does me too because it's a really hard thing to sort of articulate when you're talking about crime and criminal and activities and things like that. But there's something to what they were doing, you know what I mean, without like not ratting on each other.
They took an oath.
And it made that thing much more valuable where I think they got so much more out of it. And now it's just a free-for-all about what people are making decisions based on how can it serve me as an individual versus what that subculture is or
fuck everyone else.
Yeah, I just want to, you know, yeah, that there's a connection to that type of mentality.
Absolutely, it's the same thing, and that's why that got. I mean, because the whole thing of glorifying rats. We're a different. I just want to point out, generation-wise, we're completely two different generations. Yeah. Right. You're my son's age and shit.
Yeah, and
my daughter's age. How old are you?
I'm 41.
Oh no, you aren't.
Yeah,
I have a daughter 37.
35.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
But
okay, so you are my kid's age.
Yeah.
I have one that's 36, one that's 30. Yeah, you are. You're my kid's age.
So
we are a generation apart.
But
I don't see you that way.
But that's what I'm saying because
I see you as a convict guy.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it has really nothing to do with the age. Like I'm trying to figure out, like personally, what shifted, what changed, as far as like that type of mentality where. You know,
I watched it happen.
It's even within like hip hop, right? Like there's hip hop artists that really respected the past. Eminem completely went off like for an album or two on all these new rappers because people like him, they were doing their own thing, the style wise, but they respected the past. They respected those people, and then now there's a shift where there's a new generation that is, I don't give a shit about like what they did before. It's just about It's just
hey,
about,
Grandpa, I don't give a fuck what you were doing tattoo wise. This is the way they do it now.
So
these kids say
it's a universal sort of
these
shift.
Kids say, we don't care what you were doing. We're doing it our way.
Yeah.
This is the new thing. And you know, and we don't want this and we don't want, and I'm just like, wow. And it's not that, hey, you don't have to respect me individually. I mean, you know, hopefully you have some, because I have some respect for other, you know what I mean? I don't hurt nobody. I'm not attacking nobody. I'm not a fucking rapist or you dig? So, but I think that with the internet, I really think it started there. It's now instant generation. Nobody wants to fucking apprentice for a year. Fuck that. I can just go figure this out myself. You know, I can put these shitty tattoos all, you know, I think people forget that it's not the goal. It's the experience, man. That's what life is, because the goal at the end is to die. So, he who has the most toys wins. Bullshit, motherfucker. He that experiences the moment wins, because we're in the moment experiencing this, and it's the only thing we have. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it totally
and I think
makes sense.
These kids now with tattooing, I saw it. I remember the first one that ever said to me their ambition was to be known as one of the greatest tattooers in the world. I was like, that's your ambition? Because I never even knew that was a fucking, like, one of the top 5. I remember it was a girl. She's not tattooing now, but she literally was like, I want to be known as the world's greatest fucking tattoo artist. And I was like, wow, because tattooing I am the world's greatest tattoo artist. So is the next guy. And the next guy. You come into my shop, I am the world's greatest tattooer. I don't need to prove it to a magazine or internet or anything. And you ask my customers, they'll tell you I'm the world's greatest tattoo artist. And even they're more than customers. They will.
Because, like you said, it goes beyond just
It's the moment.
the needle in the skin.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
It's the whole
you.
hustle. Yeah.
It's the you talking and the connection, and it's a whole. So it's not necessarily like a generational thing, although I was sort of like the in between. I grew up without the internet when I was younger, when I was a kid. And then I got to experience it young, like, you know, in my late teens.
Think about
early 20s.
When's the last time one of these kids had to go look in a book?
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to learn, you know, about the Civil War. I read it in books. I don't Google that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Well, even with that, like, there's a wealth of information out there that people are not even utilizing that to learn about the Civil War, because there's like a shit ton of things they could learn on there. But
right. Well, the other thing is blues music.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been playing blues music in punk rock. You know, Karen's known me since I was a kid. First time she ever came to my house, I'm playing blues music. Okay, you buy a Robert Johnson record, there is no. You okay?
I got coffee
Wave?
in my. Yeah, hold on. We got 40 seconds before we get into the next one.
All right. Should we just stop?
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is, okay, when I got into playing blues music, I just did this yesterday. This has freaked me out. You had to figure that shit out yourself.
Right.
Now, go to YouTube. Say how to play Robert Johnson. Every fucking song. And I mean taught wrong, taught almost right, taught half-assed, taught really good, there's 50 people. This is how you play Robert. You know what I mean? And the thing is, right, they demystify everything, man. You know? Because now I don't have to listen to the record and figure out what he played, man. I can just go on there. Oh, he's playing a D with the F sharp above it. Oh, okay, no fucking problem.
It's losing like the nuances.
Well, you work for it.
Yeah.
And when you work for it, like Jimi Hendrix is the greatest fucking guitar player, they say. Okay? Now, one of the things I always say about Hendrix and why he was so goddamn good, practice. That fucking guy, his girlfriend said when they go to the movies in New York before he was famous, he'd fucking have his electric guitar on his fucking body. He's in line.
They're like, hey, dude, keep it down. We're trying to watch the movie.
Yeah.
He's like,
no, he's not plugged in, so you can't even hear it, but he's like sitting in line with his old lady going, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a red house over yonder. You know what I mean? And I thought, man, see, it's just practice.
Yeah.
You know? And there was this group of tattooers, and now they're like there's this group, and I really like them. You know, these young tattooers. One of the young tattooers I really love is Juan Tyre. He's a black and gray tattooer, young guy. But there was this group of them, and they were all like drawing a lot. Uzi and Adam Wammerdam, these guys. And what I heard about them is that they're always, you know what I mean? Drawing.
Yeah.
You know? I don't have that ambition, man. You know, give me a stencil. I'll draw, you know, you got a good pattern for a spider? Give me it. I'll fucking slap it on and go, you know. These guys are fucking.
Yeah, and you don't, but it doesn't mean that you degrade or devalue the process. In fact, you're more about the process.
Yeah.
And what it takes to do that. But I mean, that's just personally not your ambition, but you definitely appreciate the aesthetics of it. You appreciate the history of it. And so you tattooed while you were locked up, and then
I got out. My pro officer told me it's in my jacket.
So if you want to check out one of the reasons that you decided when it kind of clicked for you, when you were like, I don't want this to be my life, was when you were locked up in the shoe with Michael. And if you want to check out that part, which is
it's the first part.
First part.
Okay, but I thought I could tattoo though.
Right.
And I had a bunch of write-ups for tattooing, and the first thing my pro officer said to me, "You ain't tattooing, pal. Mm-hmm. You're high risk or whatever I was."
And you wouldn't be able to tattoo on the outs when you got out?
That's what he told me. They're dens of iniquity.
Yeah, come a little bit closer.
They're dens of iniquity, and you are not doing it. You're getting a real job. But at that time, tattoo shops didn't have like paychecks.
Well, I was just gonna say they would never tell you that now. It would be like
they're happy you got one. Yeah, but then they did.
Because there was an association.
And then it was like, you know, you could have filed on it. Yeah, really? You can fight fucking a couple pro officers?
Yeah,
I don't think so. I'm out and I'm happy and my
Yeah.
kids need me and that's it.
Yeah.
And so I went and got a job. A guy named Nick Hovick gave me a job, Jackhammer, and I talked about it. Jimmy in the car. Does that make it in the first one about the car hitting the telephone pole and killing the guy in the passenger seat?
Shit, I don't think so.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember talking about that, but I don't know. That may have been some of that footage. So when you first got out after, what was the total amount of time that you,
that time, 8 years and 36 days.
8 years?
No. 8 years and 23 days.
Yeah, okay. So
36 days.
When you got out, were you already like, I'm going to get clean, I'm not going to go back to jail? What was your mindset when you
Nothing.
got Nothing?
They got weak and let me out.
Yeah? Damn, okay. So
I wasn't sure. I mean,
sure.
I kept an open mind.
Okay.
But my kids had been in foster care with this older couple. And, you know, it's not that the older couple were mean. They're wonderful people. It's just that they were too old to take care of them. And there was like 60 cats living in the house. I had to take a fucking shovel and break cat shit off the kids' floor. And, you know, they needed me. And I realized they needed me. And I realized that Casey wasn't coming back for them. And the only thing they had was me. And I didn't talk to them a lot in prison. They visited me maybe one time. They were always on my mind. But see, when I got out, Buzz, who had them, brought them to I rode home with them on each side of me. That first night I was out and I got to the house and there's like 60 cats living in the house. Now I'm used to prison, which is clean. That's why I was making jokes about my house is messy. But in the joint, you know, you keep your fucking house clean. You know what I mean? And I get out and I'm like, how the fuck am I going to spend the night here? Where's the shower? You dig? Like, I mean, it's a different world. And so I knew they needed me. And so then I didn't have to see my parole officer for about 3 days. It was a holiday. It was the day before Thanksgiving. I got out November 23rd, 1993. And I went to see my parole officer, and I walk in there, and he's like, so, how was your flight? It's all right. And the last couple days, the holiday. So you celebrate a little bit? No, I don't do. You didn't drink? No, I don't drink. I don't drink. I never liked drinking. Every time I ever got drunk, I got in fucking trouble and fights in jail and, you know. And he's like, oh, is that right? Okay. And then they take pictures of all my tattoos and fucking, you know, reads me the riot act. And he reads in there my pre-sentence interview or whatever it is or in there that I tattoo. And he goes, listen, you're going to get a job. And I'm talking about a job with a paycheck. Got it? No tattooing. I go, what do you mean no tattooing? He goes, they're dens, this is the words he used, dens of iniquity, drugs, prostitution. No.
Definitely a different association with tattooing.
But it's fucking 1993. That's when I got out, November 23rd, 1993.
It was borderline the shift, right? Like of the perception of tattooing, but not
with
quite
the,
there.
Not with the fucking parole officer.
That
might not happen until 2000.
Right.
Not with art schools. Art schools weren't telling people, "Hey, go tattoo, you make money." It was not considered legitimate art.
Right.
Because what I did then for art is I oil painted, like that painting of Jung and Freud and Sitting Bull all believed in dreams. I painted that in 94, 95.
Yeah.
I began oil painting. Okay. And then I got in with fine arts and oil painting, and I got obsessed with it, and I made my own varnishes and made my own paints, just like the old masters. I have these books from the old masters, how to make this stuff, and I got obsessed with it like I do.
Yeah.
And that all those people in that world do not consider tattooing a legitimate art. 30 years later, they do. Or whatever it is. What is it? We're almost 30 years, 28 years later. Now it is. Now it's a legitimate art, and it's the biggest art movement in the world, which it is. But at that time, there was a difference between fine art and tattooing was still considered.
So you had to get a regular job, and you wanted to take care of your kids. You wanted to take them.
I was having a really hard time too because I had, I'm fighting cops and cell extraction. I mean, it's rough.
Yeah.
And then I'm out. So I used to stand in the driveway of the house and smoke Camels, Bugler or whatever, and trip. And I couldn't. I mean, what am I going to apply for a job?
What was your last job? How come there's a gap of?
I never worked a job.
Yeah, forever. Yeah.
I was a musician. The Flower Leopards had a record out.
Yeah,
I was,
yeah.
So the earthquake happened. The Northridge January 6th, 17th, the Northridge earthquake, and the whole valley fell.
Was that 94? That was 94.
Think about it. I get out November 23rd, which is almost December. January, the earthquake creates jobs. So many. The whole world was doing construction. Every fucking house. You could just take a jackhammer or a chimney and put it on the street, and the city was coming and taking the shit. You didn't have to take it to the dump or nothing. So this guy called me. I was going to go with Old Man Jimmy. Called me, Old Man Jimmy from the joint, and he said, I'm owed a kilo or a pound of methamphetamine. You want to go with me and get it? We keep it at your house, and we'll start dealing. And I was like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. What happened?
Oh, you're good. You're good. I'm just going to plug this in.
Then the last fucking, that night, I said, yeah, Jimmy, we can go in the morning. And that night, Nick Hovick called me and said, do you want a job? Meet me to demo a house, And I'm like, I don't know. He goes, I know, but you can work for it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Meet me at 6 a.m. So I called Jimmy. I go, hey, I can't go with you up there to get the pound. And then he took some other kid, and they wrecked the car. And I told you that story, right? He wrecked the car and killed the kid in the passenger seat.
You have mentioned that happening, but you didn't tell me the prelude to that, to the buildup of I was
gonna go because I couldn't get a
job.
job. I thought I need money. I'm running out of money, my gate money and all that, $200. I don't have any money. My kids need me, blah, blah, blah. And then Jimmy's like, hey, this guy owes me a pound up in fucking Palmdale or Lancaster. You want to go up there and get it? We'll keep it at your house and deal. Now, we have the same parole officers, me and him. Both of them. David Elias and Don Hart are both our parole officers. And I'm not supposed to see him ever.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, Jimmy, sure, pick me up tomorrow and we'll go up there. That night, Nick calls me and asks me if I want a job. I called Jimmy. I go, hey, man, I can't go with you. I'm going to try the square life, okay? And Jimmy took another youngster like me. I don't know, I was in the 30s. I was 30, but, took another guy like me. Fucking, he's driving up there. My ex and everyone will see this, knows this story because they were there. Driving up there in the rain, lose control of the car spins out, hits telephone pole, kills the kid in the passenger seat. That would have been me.
That would have been you.
Pulls the kid into the driver's seat to not get a vehicular manslaughter. Cops were sure he did it, couldn't prove it. I remember because my parole officer was talking about it because we were associates and they knew we were. They had pictures of us together. See, the thing is that people forget or don't realize, every time you take a picture on the yard, the SIS lieutenant gets it. Copies. It's a really good investigative thing. So me and Jimmy took those pictures together so they knew we were friends. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, then I got a job jackhammering and I did that. And
did that reinforce your desire to want to stay out? Like that it was
it was like
be
kind of God, because at that time I started going to AA meetings and I think I don't know if we talked about this, but you want to know what's really lacking in the world today? According to Shane, spirituality.
That's what I tell
And
lot
a
of people.
connection. I don't give a fuck what the God is. Your maker, your creator, fucking whatever, man, that's missing. That is fucking, and especially now, you know, everybody, you know, how many followers do I have? If I shake my ass, I got 1 million followers and blah, blah, and all this, man, you're losing it. See, I think that was part of the reason the country was not as corrupt as it is now. I think that was, I don't think during World War II it was. And also a lot of people believed in God, so they did the right thing out of fear. Now, they've scientifically proved in the internet there is no God, so it doesn't fucking matter what you do. All there is this life, and fuck that shit. Bullshit. For every action, you can just use Newton's laws of physics. For every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. Whatever you do, it comes back on you. And it might not come back in the same way, but you fucking hurt people, you're going to hurt. And you might not think it, but I guarantee you.
Well, the Buddhists believe that if it doesn't affect you in this life, it'll affect you in the next
That's
life,
right.
whatever, you know,
that's
karmic.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Buddhist, practicing Buddhist, but I lean towards them. At least the
Right.
ones that say to live is to suffer. To be in a body.
Right.
Because, you know, there's no guarantee. This life for me was a lot of suffering. I have a lot of joy too. And I had to get there. But young, all the way up till 30 or 30, you know what I mean? I mean, a lot of suffering, man. And I thank God for it, because you want to know what I think? I think maybe I went through all that and have all my paperwork, and you can scrutinize whatever you want, whatever, because now when people hear me speak, they fucking believe what I say. And I think maybe the only thing I'm doing here, because I have a really good power of speaking and memory, and is to inspire people. And I don't know about what, but just to inspire them. You know what I mean? Not to kill themselves, not to fucking, you dig? That's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Whatever it is, because a lot of people write me now, because I touch a lot of, and they say, you know, you inspire me. And I'm not, maybe. I mean, I'm still Shane, and I still shat beige or whatever shit, you know, stinks. But sometimes I wonder, I don't know why I've survived so many unfortunate, you know, things have happened, and I've survived. But whatever it is, maybe it's that some 19-year-old kid will believe me when I say, hey, kid, you don't have to go this way.
Right.
You can go another way. I did this for you. And I'm not trying to get all fucking like, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
sense.
no, it totally makes sense. And I can relate that to just the concept or the idea of parenting, right? Like and not all the parents get this. You know what I mean? They continue that cycle, and that cycle just, you know, it's like samsara and like Buddhism. I'm not a practicing Buddhist. I study, Buddhist philosophy, Taoism, but just the cycle of suffering, and it'll continue until you get to the point of enlightenment, and that's when they say you sort of go somewhere else. Is that what
ascend?
You'll
and never have to come back.
And never have to come back. Now, I personally think, like, all my experiences, right? Like, it was up to me, like, as far as like my family ties and all the suffering that my family has gone through, is for me to have suffered so much up into a certain point, but then have that ability, I was able to observe everything in a completely different way. I was able to be the observer to what was going on. And I have a 9-year-old child, and I'm breaking that cycle.
Yeah.
And to me, there's, you know, second time I got goosebumps, but there's a sense of that breaking that cycle of, I'm enlightened to the point that I can see that there's this cycle. And if you're caught in that cycle, it continues to perpetuate itself, and it's not a good place to be. We know that personally, right? Like having gone through like what we've gone through, but to see a visual representation of a new beginning coming up, you know, from a child, from your child, from your grandkids, you're actually able to visually see this shift and change. And so that in itself, beyond the fact of you influencing people, to be able to see that it's there. So I definitely believe that, you know, there is something there, and you're right that people are disconnected from spirituality, whatever that may be. there is no sense of that because when you're connected to spirituality, and then you see that we're all the same, and there's a connection that we can't really understand because, like you said, science says this, science says that. You can't explain certain things that are beyond the realm of our comprehension.
That's right.
And I think spirituality doesn't really try to answer that, especially like in Buddhism.
There isn't an answer.
There isn't an answer. There is no answer.
It's multiple answers. Well, there isn't and there is at the same time.
You said it earlier when you talked about it's the experience of being in the moment. That is, when you understand that, and you disconnect from the ego, the fears of the future and the regrets of the past. And when you're just in the moment and you realize you're actually connected to everything else around you, you wouldn't want to hurt that thing that, that you're connected to. So anyway, let's talk about, your choice to get clean. And then the point when you were like, fuck it, I'm never going back. And you really shifted.
It wasn't one moment. It took a while. Mm-hmm. I fixed after prison. I didn't just stop. I had the girls and fixed with them.
Yeah.
Well, I had custody of them and said it took a while. I'm a wounded dude.
Yeah.
Dope. I mean, a lot of my identity was tied into dope, even in prison, and I'm a dope fiend. I mean, I'll always be a Takato. I'll always, I'm known. I mean. So it wasn't, it just over. See, what happens is this, man. It's so funny. One of my favorite movies is Carlito's Way. Do you know that movie?
Yeah, Al Pacino.
He was in Lewisburg, or at least the character was.
Oh, the character.
Now, the guy that wrote the book was Edwin Torres, and he was a judge, but he writing about these badass Puerto Rican street guys. And he said, and it's the truth, he said that there was a Lewisburg counselor, and he told him, Charlie, you can't run the whole way.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
Like, you got to fucking breathe. You there. See, I don't think that I rehabilitated out of a desire. I ran out of wind. You understand what I mean? Because I take it far. Like, I mean, I have paper. I'm not. It's not like some bravado, you dig, but I took it far. And I think seeing my kids and that kind of thing, not that all of that didn't weigh into it, but eventually I think you can only hit your head against the wall so many fucking times before it really hurts if it doesn't kill you. And I think at some point I gave up trying to kill, because I think the dope and prison and fights and everything I've been through in my life was a slow suicide. Because, I think it all stems back to my parents. I think my father didn't love me. My mother didn't love me. My mother put me on an on-ramp. I didn't have a relationship with my father till I was 30. He didn't care enough about me as a kid. And I think that people, I don't think people realize how much that weighs, your relationship with your kids. How important it is. I mean, you cannot see your kids or whatever, but my kids, I believe, know I love them. And they could call me and I'd lay my life. I think they know that. You dig? So, but I think it wasn't just one thing that made me change, even though the girls needed me. Even that, because I'm still wired the way I'm wired. You know what I'm saying?
Still tethered to that.
I'm wired the way I'm wired, and when shit gets really bad, I want a fucking shot of dope because it takes it away for me. You dig? And shit would get bad, and I would run to it, but slowly that just stopped, and then now I've been clean many years. You know what I mean? But it did not just. It was like, hey, got a pin, totally changed. That's it. It's over.
Yeah.
I would love to say it was, but it wasn't.
What was the moment when you decided that you would go clean?
There's many moments.
But
you think there was one?
No. I know that it was. I'm sure it was a multitude of things, but just like for me, when I had the breakdown in my cell, when I had that, it was an event that I can't even necessarily explain. But there was a moment when you were sort of talking about I can't I feel like I'm running, and then I just got tired, and then it wasn't necessarily the fact that I was just sitting there that was the moment, but there was, that was my memory is that's when I decided I didn't want to live that life anymore.
Well, I think part of it too is, and I've told a lot of my friends, we talk about this, you're shooting dope at fucking 45, 50 years old. That's a bad fucking trip. When you're shooting dope and you're 20, that's a whole nother animal, or 15 to 20 to 30. But man, you're still fucking tying one off and you're an old guy. That don't look good, dude. You know what I mean? And I realized that I had a lot more to offer the world not shooting dope than shooting dope. And I go back to that because I really believe heavily that I have more to offer. Now
There's a hummingbird right there, sorry.
Yeah. I could go tomorrow and hopefully, but I don't know, man, exactly which. I mean, I know that might sound weird, but I don't know if there was one single moment. It might have been, there was a period maybe 15, 17 years ago that I got in the car to drive downtown to score dope. And I'd been clean a long time, maybe 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And I got on the freeway and went maybe one exit, and I'm like, fuck this shit. And I turned around and went back. You know what I mean? Like,
what was the motivation for you to even think about going to do it? You were
probably
just going through a lot of shit.
Fighting with Karen, fucking, unhappy, fucking. I was just like, fuck it. I remember it was the night before, and I said, fuck it, I'm going to go downtown and cop tomorrow. Fuck this shit. I'd feel a lot better if I had some dope in me. And I literally got up in the morning, got in the car, fucking pointed it down there, and we lived further out at that time, and I got about to this exit, and I turned around and went back. And then I told her about it later, and she was just like, it's hard to do that. But a guy had told me in program, and he was right. People don't slip because you have to slip your shoes on and then slip into the car and then turn the key on, and it takes you don't just. I mean, the way people slip is if there's someone that happens, they're somewhere where there's dope. But for someone like me, I gotta go get it. I mean, because I don't hang out with junkies. There's nobody around that I can say, hey, let me have some. You know what I mean? But I think. See, I'm really superstitious. Like, I don't want to say, I'm completely done. Though I probably am.
Right, yeah.
Because I don't want the universe to go, no, you're not, asshole. Let's
test you.
Because it's trying. Let me tell you something. Because I was really sick with this shit. I'm still sick. I'm not, normal. 100%. I have a fever, I think, right now. I don't think I'm contagious. I think it is. I'm a 57-year-old guy that had hepatitis C real bad, that fucking had bacterial endocarditis, that was an intravenous addict, and it smoked bugler. I smoked 2 of them today. I'm not smoking like I was, but I still do.
Yeah.
And if anybody, I think, so there were times when I was sitting there, and I thought, man, a fucking bag of dope would be fucking really good right now, and knock this shit right out. Because a lot of times when you're shooting dope, you don't get sick. Dope fiends will tell you that. Now, the truth is you're sick overall. Your whole body is sick. But you don't get the normal colds because, you're doing... But I'm just saying. Yeah. So the thoughts still enter my mind. I just don't act on them.
Yeah, that's why like Danny Trejo or certain people
say the same thing?
I'm still a recovering addict. Like they don't...
Well, what it is that's the thing I didn't like about it.
He's been clean since the 70s or whatever, but you have to still have that mentality that you don't have. The same with people that get out of prison. I still think about certain things at certain times. I'm like,
with the dope, they had a saying, I'm farther from my last fix, but just as close to my next one. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that irritated me about program. And program saved me. It saves many people. I don't go so much anymore. And I hear people say that everyone's on their phone, and I don't know if that's true. I don't want to fucking hurt it. But when they measure their time, You know what I'm saying? I think that's become real egotistical. You know, not that you shouldn't measure your time. You shouldn't. You should celebrate your birthdays and everything. But I see people like, yeah, I've been clean 20 years because it becomes, oh, that guy's got a lot. Oh, that guy's really smart. You know, he's been clean 20 fucking years. You should listen to what he says. And I start thinking like, wait, he's 30. What did he get clean when he was fucking 10? What kind of fucking run did he go on? What, he was fucking, what, huffing glue? And I'm not supposed to take someone else's inventory. And I mean, their experience is their experience. But man, I was fucking dope fiend till fucking almost 40. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't done, you know? So to me, because you got clean and you're 35 years old and you got clean when you were 15, what are you going to tell me? You might tell me how to live clean, but, you know, I mean, I've been in the room with Danny Trejo when he talked before and everything, and I always forget. But I'm a recovering addict. Every day it could go south if I let it.
Right.
You know, if I don't address it.
Yeah.
If I let it get the best of me. You know what I mean? I mean, I really I got it tattooed on me. You know, when guys get white pride on their back arms, I have Dragon Slayer. In the joint, that meant dope fiend. I don't know if it still did, but back in the day, chasing the dragon is when you were looking for dope in Quentin or T.I. or wherever you were, Lewisburg. So my celly and his friends were like, put Dragon Slayer on my back arms. For dope fiend, I have Monkey on my back. I had a real love affair with heroin. I mean, I don't like heroin. I love it. And Being Loaded and Johnny Thunders. And I mean, that's how I became one. Keith Richards and how cool. And you know what I mean? They talk different. And
even the blues and jazz.
Yeah,
and
all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And the feeling of it.
The aesthetics of it.
And when you first do it, especially as a musician, especially with like John Coltrane and them, I see why they do it. Because, man, you can fucking feel so good that you are gone. And you are, I mean, it is the drug. Eventually, it ruins you. And you're no longer, you know what I mean? But the first few times, because it takes that inhibition away. And you're, you know, I mean, you're really something. So I have a love affair with that shit. I have to be extremely fucking I mean, in my book, I thanked the guy that isolated heroin. It says, who do I thank? And I thanked all these old tattooers, and I thanked some Civil War generals, and I thanked my mom and my dad and whoever isolated heroin. Thank God. I mean, I have a love affair with that shit.
I'm so glad I never tried it because I would have been right there. I got lucky. I
think it's over because now this drug fentanyl, I don't even know if they have heroin anymore. And fentanyl, no, I've read everything you could. I'm an encyclopedia of narcotics. Fentanyl has a half-life of 2 hours. Heroin has a half-life of 8 hours. Okay? The half-life means that it lasts about that long. And it's a fancy way. When you use it half as much in your system, you know, it's a way we call half-life. It's the way they judge drugs. 2-hour half-life with fentanyl, it's crack. You're going to fucking have to do it every fucking 15, you dig? Well, heroin, you can do and then wait 8 hours. And also, it's not a designer drug. It actually has the opium. It takes a certain amount to turn it to morphine base and a certain amount to acetic anhydride to make it into heroin. I mean, I know how to make it. I mean, I've read everything on it. I mean, I'm a nut. I'm a nut. And I just don't even think it's on the street anymore. I think even my understanding and everything I read about it is that fentanyl...
It's like something else.
What's fentanyl? Then they just make it look like heroin, and these dope fiends don't even know what a real shot of heroin felt like.
Yeah.
Because think about it. You can smuggle this much fentanyl, cut it, and fucking do the whole city.
Yeah.
But this much pure heroin... so it's like a dream, and you can make it. So maybe they have the chemicals and just make it in the bathtub. That's freaky to me. I don't like designer drugs, man. I like drugs that come from the ground. Marijuana, heroin, cocaine, coke up, you know, but once you start fucking throwing this and that in a little bathtub, and I want no part of that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're all about the purity.
Well, what are you gonna? You get something. What happened? Oh, some guy came by with some bathtub narcotic, and now I can't quit twitching. You know what I mean? So yeah, back to the very beginning with the fucking vaccine. You know, people say, "Wow, I'm sure you shot." And just my opinion, I trust heroin more than I trust that shit.
Damn.
But anyway, we don't have to get into all that because it'll ruin us. We should wind this one up.
Yeah. I really appreciate this time with you.
Did we do good?
I feel like there's you just have
got to
a lot.
go again and again and again.
You have a lot to, I think, digest. You need to try to understand.
Just so they know, I'm a little leery. I could tell you, I mean, I've been in some incidences in there that went all the way. I'm not joking.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a little leery. I want to tell them. I want to share them. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it's time. It's been long enough. It's hard for me to, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And that's why the last one, I was glad that didn't, you know what I mean? 'Cause,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not that anyone died in that, but I always say when I post things, I posted my custody level thing because I knew I was looking for it, and then I sent it to you, and it says, high end, consider increase. I mean, you can't go,
Yeah.
where are we going? I don't want people to think I'm high signing. I'm trying to.
I get that. Yeah,
Okay.
I totally understand that. I had come across this video of this ex-mobster that's just, he's got a YouTube video and he's got his own caricature and for the intro and some coffee time with somebody, and he's just going off about how he used to be in the mob, and I find that all to be very strange because I get it. Like you don't. I guess that's not my interest. Like my interest lies with dissecting
The journey.
Well, the journey of
The journey away from it.
The journey away from it, because I think there's a deeper understanding to be had there, and it's not like when I watch shit like that. That guy is just like what you're talking about, where these, people just want this instant fix, or they're just trying to get famous, or whatever.
It's like that.
I'll let them do that.
There's that current prisoner, and there's dudes that are checked in, and they're like, okay, Big Ronnie on, that's the head of the AB, and this guy, and that, and then they hit this dude, and I'm like, dude, you already debriefed. It's over for you. How come you're not talking about how to fucking get away from that shit?
Yeah.
You dig? You can talk about that shit later, but they're still in it.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So it's like there are stories that are, I think, interesting, and each story, I think, thus far there's value in it as far as like what someone could learn for the fact that you went through that experience, and this
redemption.
sort of it ties into the whole idea that if we're experiencing and we're going through these things, but we're not really sharing our insights about them, then we're just reliant on
they're war stories, and they're just fucking war stories.
They're entertainment, and and then you're relying on, and this really kind of comes back and it connects to why I think people are all over the place. Is there's not enough people sort of telling these stories to, they're not telling these stories to people so they don't go through the same struggles as they've gone through. It's just to tell the story because they want to have 10,000 followers, or or whatever it is. Native American tribes where people looked up to the elders to tell them stories about generations before the other generations.
That's right.
So they can get some insights, so they can live a better life. And I think that has been fucking lost because of what is out there, and what people are they're only invested in their own self-interest about where they can get. And it's like your time for doing this, my time for doing this is to really share your story, because your story, like, it's the judge that read your.
I'm going to get that. I'm going to contact them because I want to read that, because.
But you went through a lot in order for you to be right here, right now, to be able to share your story. And I really fucking hope people look at that. And
well, I hope that's what I was saying. Maybe I went through all that so people would listen. And maybe I saved my paperwork. My sister didn't throw it out because I got mine. The joint thing. Hey, you got your paperwork? I got all mine. We can go ahead and, it's all there.
Yeah.
I got shit from everywhere, whatever. But the thing is maybe the reason that I never let it go, and it can't, is maybe it was so that I could help other people. And I mean, I don't know how, but a lot of people do know that I will, because I tell people, look, if you're going to kill yourself, call me. And there are guys, they'll tell you. They might write in if they hear this. There was one guy up north. He called me and he said, you know, you did this thing on suicide and you really inspired me. He drank something that ate his intestines. He's had all these surgeries now. And he collects tattoos. And he just called me. I go, you're still alive? And he said, yeah. A few guys have contacted me. I don't know if that's, but I'm just saying that I think sometimes maybe the reason I did is so you can check my paperwork and then listen to what the fuck I have to say.
Yeah.
Because the problem I have with some of them mafia guys, they ratted.
Yeah.
And now they got 300,000 followers. Okay. Now look, one of them in particular. Oh, well, he out mafioso Gotti. You know, that's the guy, right? Okay. He also for 4 years testified in all kinds of trials that had nothing to do with that. And he hurt many fucking people. And that's fine. He did that. Then he should go live his life. But now he's going to fucking profit off his glory days. Fuck off. You know, and I tell people you shouldn't follow that guy, because he's getting money for this shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, he's the only guy that can explain the golden days. He gave that right up when he ratted.
Right.
As far as, you know what I mean? Because he didn't rat for look, you have an epiphany and you become a Buddhist monk and it's in your heart that you should tell this. That's one thing. He ratted simply for self-preservation.
Right.
That's it. Fuck off. You know?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I never ratted on nobody, and I'm here and I don't commit crimes and I'm done and I got a good fucking jacket.
Yeah.
Fuck you, dude.
Damn, I haven't heard Jacket in a while.
And, you know, another one I did time was Michael Franchese. You ever see him on YouTube? He's the guy that found God. He's Sonny Franchise's son. We were in TI together. And my girlfriend used to call his wife Glamour Girl, because he was like, he made millions off the guessing. You'll find him on YouTube. Yeah, I did time with him, TI. I remember when that dude hit him. He talks about the one wreck he got as some black dude hit him. And anyway, we got to stop, man.
Yeah. Well,
We'll wind it up. I hope, however this you know what I mean? Maybe it can help somebody. And I'd like to talk more.
well, it does help, and I mean, we've already established a relationship, which is something. You know what I mean? Like, you called me a couple of weeks ago, and you had asked me if I was doing okay, because you felt something, and
I felt connected to you.
Yeah, but the fact that you just called me up and you was just like, "Are you good?"
Yeah,
I think goes a long way. But so, you know, I would like to have you back, and I would like to do segments where we can just do like a thing called Story Time with Shane, where you can, you know,
I got some goodness. I should read from my play too, man. We should film that or do something with that.
Yeah.
There's some good shit in there.
I definitely.
But we'd have to go chronological, because if I open it in the middle with Michael talking about God, people think it's like some holy roller thing, and it's not.
Gotcha.
But go ahead.
No, yeah. So we'll wrap it up. One of the things that I like to ask people is define freedom. What does freedom mean to you? What does it mean to be free?
Free will, the choice to do the right thing. Like Descartes. Did I talk about this?
Descartes? Go
Descartes,
ahead.
Cartesian philosophy is that we are made in God's image, not that we're made. God has a dick and balls, but that He gave us free will, and that's kind of what's scary about today. They're trying to take our free will away from us, and to me, freedom. Your freedom is as important to me as mine. And I mean that. I mean, I will really fight for people's freedom. Their freedom of choice. We done? Cut? Done? Cut? He can say it.
That guy right there? Let me see him.
That's Task did this for me. My friend from Australia. Cut! He painted that for me.
Can you hold that up? Listen up, Pooh Butts. Is that it?
That's it.
We're doing this?
Cut!
What are you rebelling against?
What do you got?
We were trying to change something.
Skateboarding is a way of learning how to redefine the world around you.
The auras of this country don't care about the poor and you know.
Now, baby, push me! Push me again now.
Screaming at a wall.
And Sheen, Johnny Rotten, the inventor more or less of punk, said once that he didn't take punk very seriously. For him it was a joke and nothing else.
I think it's a joke. I do, seriously.
Yeah, I can see that, but it's just, to him it was all a money-making thing, you know, because he knew that kids wanted to do something besides what their parents did, which was have long hair and smoke pot all day and go and march against Vietnam and stuff. So I don't know, he's like the father of it, and yeah, it is a joke. I don't know, yeah.
So you seem to take it quite seriously, yeah?
Yeah, well, it's like a lie. It's like what I do, you know, and so it's like you wear the stuff or whatever, and all my friends are into it and everything. Yeah, I guess I do take it kind of seriously. It's a lifestyle.
What's this lifestyle about?
About being a joke, I guess. Yeah, about being a joke.
You're a joke.
He is. I think it's a joke because...
In a sense, it's a joke, but it's not like a funny joke, you know? It's like a joke, like ridiculous, like lame, you know? Like sarcastically, yeah, it's a joke, but as in the funny, you know, it's not, I don't laugh about it. You know what I'm saying?